So there's this girl who spent her whole childhood learning magic from a legendary sage. And after 10 years of training, she's only 15, and already thinks she's seen everything the world has. But she was totally wrong, and now she's staring this guy down, asking who he even is and what his whole deal is. The guy introduces himself as Yakagi Sume, the mage, and the second she hears that, she's totally ready to throw down, and starts chucking fireballs right at him. Boom! That shot landed right on the money, and man, this dude looks absolutely wrecked. We jump to a new spot where a timer hits 3, 2, and then starts counting all the way up to 9. 3 whole squads are just chilling together, and Yakagi and Shun are right in the middle of it. Ragi and Anu Mizuki are next up. So basically they got sucked into a whole new world just to take down a massive demon king. He looks around and realizes this is 100% real, so then out of nowhere, Ragi just straight up punches a pillar. This dude is basically using hacks because he just absolutely smashes through the concrete. Mizuki's feeling a massive power boost too, and thinks they might finally be the real deal heroes. Man, I wish we could just hit a skip button to the final dungeon, but it's never that easy. So Yakagi tells everyone to lock in, while Mizuki warns them that a fight is definitely coming. Suddenly, they hear the sound of footsteps coming out of nowhere. They keep walking until Ragi suddenly stops, because he senses something is definitely lurking nearby. Suddenly, 2 mages step onto the scene. He thought only one hero was showing up, but now an entire squad is pulling up. They probably just got dragged into this. But Mizuki is already reading the room and knows things are about to get ugly. If this keeps up, these random extras might actually team up with a demon to take down the hero. Yakagi is totally losing it trying to figure out what's going on, and the girl says she's clueless, but there's no way she's attacking Ragi. She doesn't hate him at all. Honestly, she's totally into him. Yakuigi's basically telling him to chill out because he's not the enemy. But the guy is being way too extra. He shouts that he never liked them anyway. And then, suddenly a girl pops in and says sorry for barging in like that. She reveals she's actually the king's daughter, Titana Root Estelle, and the other girl introduces herself as a court mage named Felminia. The Yakogis actually think they're the ones who summoned them. The mage spots them and shoots him a super intense look. Ragi introduces himself and his whole squad, but then Titana steps up and says they need a massive favor. They're being told to go crush the demon king who's ruining the world, and man, talk about a total cliché. Everyone was just looking around like, are you serious? We really got called in for this. But Yakagi just shuts him down right in the middle of the king's hall. It's not like I'm taking on a whole army or anything. The whole court is losing it, thinking they're only talking big because they're safe, while Yakagi is just like, I'm not getting involved in getting wrecked. Ragi asks if they're worried about him, and says he's got them covered, but Yakagi tells him he better think twice. They seriously want us to go up against a guy who wiped out an entire country. The kid says sorry, but the king flips the script and says Ragi is the real hero. He's the only one with elemental protection, and the rest of the squad is just along for the ride. Yakagi is super salty because Ragi is always the one getting picked for everything. The king basically tells him to wait until dinner so they can finally talk it out. Ragi is ready to throw down right now, and while the MC is totally confused, we're jumping right into the chaos. Ragi tells him to just trust the plan, but Yakagi isn't buying it for a second. Trying to take on a demon lord from another world when you have no clue what they can do? Yeah, that's a total death wish. Way up in the frozen lands of Estelle, the northern fortress spent ages holding the line against the demon kingdom. But 6 months ago, the capital got raided, and Nocius finally fell. Demons didn't need humans for anything, so they just hunted them down, and barely anyone survived that total nightmare. These demons hunt humans like total bugs, and they're so insanely strong, they don't even bother talking. The Church of Salvation actually picked a demon king named Nakshatra to be their new boss. Man, that is a serious mouthful. If these guys keep doing whatever they want, humanity is totally cooked. And since every country failed to stop the madness, They're now desperate enough to summon heroes from another world, even though it's almost impossible to pull off. To make things worse, there are massive monsters like titans everywhere, and our hero is frozen in fear, realizing that humanity is basically doomed. The old guy warns that the Demon King is only holding back for now, but soon his army is going to crush this kingdom, and everyone else just like they did to the Gnosis Empire. Yakagi sees what's really going on, and realizes they were just trying to make him feel sorry for them, so, right after that, the king calls the hero over and asks if he's down to help them out. Our guy is 100% sure he's going to say no, but then the plot takes a wild turn. But get this, the kid actually said yes. Then out of nowhere he just screams, "Quest!" He's totally questioning why he even said yes, since he basically just promised to take down a monster that wants to end the entire world. Ragi's blaming the Demon King for putting everyone in danger, but here's the crazy part. Yakagi tries to talk him out of it, insisting they don't owe these people a single thing. Ragi admits they're brand new to this world, but he says every single person's life is actually tied together. The announcer doesn't care and asks if he's really taking this on solo, but the kid just shrugs and says he couldn't care less. He's totally clueless, but with these new powers, he might actually have a shot, and since the heroes before him saved the world, he's gotta try. Even if Yakagi thinks. You don't have to force yourself to go if you're not feeling it, because honestly, as long as he stays safe, he'll be totally happy. Turns out this guy is the one with the hero's power, and after hearing that, our MC surprisingly just gives up. He's talking to the king, and the ruler tells him he's only got one favor to ask. He's not interested in fighting the Demon King at all, and just asks if he can go back to his own world, making the whole room go dead silent. The king just says sorry, but going back to his world is straight up impossible. And the crazy part is, they haven't been able to send a single person back home. There's no magic that can actually pull that off, and hearing the news makes Yakagi go absolutely ballistic. A bit later, Mizuki asks if the MC is going to be okay, but Ragi tells her not to sweat it, since Yakagi is tough and will be totally fine by tomorrow. Back in his room, the blessed guy was already swearing he'd find a way to get back home. A bit later, the whole squad of heroes finally met up. Titania says she's finally going to introduce the mages who are going to be teaching Ragi. That girl is Felminia, and even though she's the youngest, she's super ready to show everyone she can totally live up to their expectations. But while all that was going down, our guy was already on the move. He was just staring at the balloons when she suddenly asks what's wrong. Man, this kid seriously misses nothing. She switches gears and asks about his world having zero magic, and Ragi confirms it, saying they have something way more powerful called science. The guy had literally never heard of it, unless it was in some wild fantasy story. The girl is totally blown away and can't believe it's true, while the other guy calls her out for being so rude to the person who literally just saved them. Titania realizes Ragi is a total newbie to magic and thinks he needs a super simple breakdown. So she's convinced Felminia is the top mage in the land and the perfect fit for the job. And the girl is totally hyped to be getting all this praise. But then this guy in the background pipes up and says he totally disagrees. He's way better at teaching Ragi magic, and after seeing how things are going, he steps in. Felminia asks if he thinks her magic is weak, but the guy just flexes his title as a mage guild professor and tells her she's way too young to even be on his level. Elminia says they've got to put it to the test, and the guy is totally down for the challenge. Now they're finally gonna see who the real magic boss is in that place. This dude blasts a massive rock spike from the ground and brags to the hero that this is what real magic looks like. It's a skill that unleashes crazy power by shifting the magical elements that build this entire world. He realized he could pull off that exact same move on the whole planet. Felminia reminds him he's from a world with zero magic and asks if he really thinks he can master the elements like that. He throws his hand up and unleashes a massive fire spell. He hurls it straight at the mage. Those two were just vibing in the corner while Philmini started geeking out about how elemental power works. This is the ultimate creation power for making cool stuff. And if you can just picture every tiny detail, you can unlock all its insane strength. All he's got to do is focus on that insane magic power exploding inside him. Suddenly, a mage springs back up and shouts that the fight is far from over. Philminia jumps in to protect Ragi, but this guy is totally not having it. He doesn't even care, and just launches that stone spear with everything he's got. Just like that, she fires up her flames once more. She blocks it again, and man, she's actually got some crazy skills. A little later, Ragi catches Yakagi up on all the craziness and tells him he's got to join the squad too. But there's no way the kid is letting that slide. He asks if he seriously forgot about the massive scene he caused right in front of the king. Mizuki pops up and hypes up Philmania as a teaching pro and the youngest court mage ever, since she's only 15 and already a total magic genius. Everyone was completely blown away that a kid did all that, and now they're all wondering if Ragi can pull off those same epic spells too. Suddenly the kid reaches out his hand and boom! He's already blasting fire magic. Yakagi is totally stunned and claims he's the hero, while Ragi starts mastering the sword and some serious martial arts. Then Mizuki's afternoon training is finally about to start, so she's gotta get moving. Ragi waves goodbye, telling our guy to stop just standing there and to go take a walk or something. The MC walks out of the room, and later on, he grabs some books. He's totally hyped, because he finally gets to read all about the hero's insane summoning powers. No surprise there, but those books were a total bust and didn't have any useful info. So he heads out a bit later to see if he can find any more clues. As the kids wander the halls, they're shocked he hasn't been caught yet, and people are starting to wonder if the security here is just a total joke. Right then, Yakagi scans the area to see what's going on. Well, the kid's just got wrecked, and now he's in a huge mess. He says he's heading out to meet someone, but then he suddenly crashes into a girl and calls her name. That girl is Philminia, and she's right there asking him what he's up to. Yakagi says he's just out for a stroll, so she tells him he really shouldn't be wandering around all by himself. He's freaking out because he just ran into the worst person possible, and now she's actually offering to walk him back to his room. She switches gears and asks why he totally bailed on taking down the demon lord. Even though the hero is his best friend, he totally ditched him, unlike the girl, and the MC admits he's just too scared of getting hurt to stay. But then he hears something. The second she hears that, Philminia's whole expression completely flips. She calls him a total scumbag, roasting him for letting his friends do all the hard work when he doesn't even deserve to be the hero's sidekick. Yakagi asks her straight up if she thinks it's actually normal to just say no to something like this. They got dragged to some random world and told to fight, so obviously they wanted to say no. And even though Philminia is shocked the hero would refuse, our MC doesn't. Philminia says she gets where he's coming from, but she still asks if he really thinks he doesn't owe the hero and Mizuki anything. He could have helped out even without powers, and hearing that, the MC is totally shocked because he thought she was just all talk. But she's actually for real. She's honestly a total legend because she's always looking out for her friends. Our hero tries to apologize, but she's super annoyed and asks if he's even listening, so Yakagi tells her to pipe down before they bother everyone nearby. Philmania realizes she messed up, says sorry, and promises to fix her attitude. So our guy asks what she's actually gonna do, and out of nowhere, the girl just drops to the ground and starts bowing. He's totally lost because she wasn't even the one moving her own body, and now she's asking him what he just did. He just tells her he didn't move a muscle, and then the girl steps up. The girls are all tangled up in her clothes, and the MC is stuck dealing with the whole mess. He's got no other choice, so he jumps in to help. He gets her loose and grabs a cloth to clean her up. They're stuck cleaning, and that super anxious girl is already starting her move. Joel's like, "Yo, what are you even doing?" Yakagi noticed she was really struggling, so he stepped in to help. He stepped in to help because leaving a girl that cute in such a mess would be a total waste. so he cleaned her up a bit. Filminia totally loses her cool when she hears that, but then she suddenly pulls herself together. She tells him she's way too busy to hang out, so she shows him his room and takes off. But while she's dipping out, Yakagi is dying to find the room where they first got summoned. But then that annoying girl pops up again, swearing she'll get him back 100 times over for making her look like a total loser. The kid is totally lost, but he heads out anyway, figuring he'll just keep on searching. Filminia walked through the castle halls, totally blushing, because she'd actually let her guard down in front of him. She was still totally obsessing over him calling her pretty. Like, for real. Wait, has she seriously never been told she's awesome before? Filminia thinks it was honestly pretty messed up to just ditch Yakagi without anyone to guide him. She knows she's got to make things right, so she heads straight for the boys' room to apologize. But when she finally gets there, he's already gone, and all that's left are some books on his bed. But back at the summoning room, things are starting to get wild. Our boy says he's going to give this little trick one more shot. Meanwhile, in a totally different part of the castle, a soldier paces the halls, totally convinced that nobody is dumb enough to raid the hero's base. They're all wondering why they even have to guard a hero who's strong enough to scrap with the leader of the night. He steps into another hallway and calls out to see if anyone's around. He's right there, just staring down those statues. That's the summoning room. But a soldier literally just checked it a few minutes ago. He thinks someone broke in. But nah, the magic security system would have totally caught them by now. He leaves the Yakogas right under the statue, but seriously, how did that soldier not even spot him? The boys are totally stressed after that close call, but they figure the soldier will just forget about it by tomorrow. Out of nowhere, the armor behind him just falls apart, and you can see Yakogi's totally thrown off because that thing definitely wasn't there last time. He checks out the gear and realizes it sucks up magic from everything around him. Plus, the defense is actually pretty solid. Luckily, it doesn't pack enough punch to actually kill him. Yakagi stands up and tells everyone he's the one who's got to fix this mess. But then out of nowhere, it starts moving all by itself. The armor clicks back into its basic form, and Yaka is finally back to normal. Akagi's convinced that the magic circle in the summoning room is the real problem here. He's back in the room, messing with that seal all over again. He still thinks the move looks super sketchy, since those outer circles only boost his power and don't give him any protection at all. And the worst part is, they haven't even finished the magic circle yet. He was still trapped in that circle, totally lost on how he was gonna get back home. Fast forward a few minutes, and we're right back in the audience room. The king declares that Yakagi and the hero are VIPs, meaning they're totally off limits to everyone. She brings it up again, reminding him that he's still acting totally weird. He stays locked in his room all day, only coming out to hoard books because the king says since he can't go home, he's got to study up on this new world. Filminius points out some clues showing that he basically walked into the summoning room like it was nothing, even though the kid swore his world didn't have a single drop of magic. The very first day they met, she could totally feel him using his power. Basically, this guy definitely tapped into some crazy power, and if they let him run wild, it's gonna make the whole kingdom look like a joke. If that's for real, they've got to shut him down. But the situation is way worse than they thought. The king says it's totally fine, as long as he doesn't cause trouble. And since the kid is just geeking out over history books and maps, the summoning room is safe for now. Filminia warns that letting him run wild will totally wreck the king's reputation. But the king just shrugs it off like it's no big deal. He suddenly switches things up and asks if she's got the MC on her mind, making her totally freak out and blush. Anyway, she's finally gonna give our boy a break and stop messing with him for now. The king is stoked this mess is finally over, and he jokes that being a total genius must be super exhausting. Suddenly, a guy in a hoodie shows up out of nowhere and says he's got some major news about Yakagi. But over in the summoning room, things were looking way different. Inside the room, the girl spots something that totally catches her off guard. The armor is completely trashed, and these hooded guys claim Yachagi's been lurking around the castle to take out the king. I've got a gut feeling he's cooking up a plan, since he's totally stuck in this world. A ton of her security traps got totally trashed, especially the ones right by the king's hangout. Filminia hears the news and is totally stunned that Yakagi actually pulled all that off. He decided to keep the whole thing a secret from the mage squad, because if that's for real, she's gonna take care of it all by herself. She's been dropping way too many secrets lately. He gives them major props for having his back. She heads out, literally shaking because she can't believe he's actually that kind of dude. He's definitely cooking up a plan to take down the king, but he's got zero chance of pulling it off. The guy in the hood is just vibing, and he's actually the same creep Filminia fought before, bragging that the seeds are finally planted. Fast forward a few days, and our main guy is back in action. So our main guy is just wandering through the castle halls when Filminia is watching him like a hawk as he strolls right past a maid. She's totally sure he's just pulling some kind of crazy magic trick. Right then, Filminia looks away for just a split second. And just like that, the kid completely vanishes. She unleashes her wind magic to hunt him down. He zooms right out of the castle before anyone can even blink. He's just vibing in the royal sanctuary right now. And honestly, we all know this is gonna end in a total disaster. Thinking back, the way these guys love hunting people down is honestly pretty messed up. Filminia is totally shocked he spotted her, and admits she's been low-key following him for a while now. She asks what he's doing, and he just says he's out for a walk, and asks if he's not allowed to be out at night. But she's not falling for his act, so Yakagi finally gives in, and admits he's there for the exact same reason she is. Filminia was totally blown away that he went this far, especially since she just wanted to handle things quietly. Yakagi's thinking he should have just handled this sooner to make it way faster, but the night is just getting started, and he's ready to go find some serious action. The girls are totally freaking out, asking if he even knows they're in Shocky Paradise, the king's absolute favorite spot. Yakagi thinks the name is totally sick, but then out of nowhere, Filminia looks up and realizes those towers just straight up vanished. Our guys actually like it better when something's missing, so just look the other way. He looks to the left and sees the building, while Filminia is totally lost and asking what's even going on. So then our main guy is just like, he actually pulled out this crazy move called Phantom Road. He set up a barrier and created a total mirror world. He scrambled the math to create these impossible glitchy zones, and man, it gets seriously confusing. She's completely blown away and asks if it's magic, because she's never seen anything flip the world upside down like this. But Yakagi isn't even sweating it, saying it's just a basic little barrier. Everything is totally new to Filminia, and the guy is honestly losing it, because he has to explain and own every single detail. He asks if these mages even have a clue what a barrier is. If that's true, then he's totally broken in this world. He explains that he built this secret world with magic, and no matter what he does, nobody's gonna hear a thing. Filminia's just looking at him like, is he for real? Does he actually think he can win with that weak magic? She's from the Astel Mage Court, so there's no way she's losing to some garbage cheap tricks. If that's how it's gonna be, she's about to show him the real truth behind her magic flames. He fires off a spell, and the whole place just bursts into flames. Whoa, she's seriously going all out now. Then our hero just snaps his fingers. He just uses his fingers and the whole attack vanishes. Seriously, how is this kid actually this strong? Both of them are losing their minds, and Filminia is freaking out because her magic just straight up vanished. The crew knew right away that those flames were bad news. But it's really just normal fire with a massive oxygen boost. His fire is totally plain with no curses or deep meaning. And since magic without a cool backstory is basically trash, he tells her he'd retrain her from scratch if he was her master. AMC is getting pretty annoyed and says that's seriously her whole deal, because all she can do is chuck a single flame. She's just standing there, having absolutely no clue what's going on. And right then, Yakagi just whips up a magic circle out of nowhere. Filmin is everything. How'd you pull that off? Who are you anyway? But our guy is totally chill, acting like he's just a normal dude while he casually decides to turn that technique into an enchantment like it's no big deal. Seriously, do I have to explain everything from zero? And what is even up with the magic in this world? He slapped down a magic circle and fired off a move he'd used before. She can't even call it fake anymore because she saw him do it right in front of her face. If she can't handle the truth, she's never gonna cut it as a mystery scholar, because keeping magic simple is how you actually win a fight. But Felminia is just like, plus we've even got gear that's super strong, without needing any magic. Yakagi checks out the magic circle and asks if this is their best stuff, wondering if she'd be totally blown away by the really massive spells. Then, with a quick snap, the guy is suddenly covered in a massive wind aura. Felminia is just staring in total shock because he pulled it off without saying a single word. Feeling totally crushed, our main guy blasts his. He fires up his magic and tells them he's officially done with the questions. Poor Felminia is totally lost and just wants to know what's happening since the guy right in front of her clearly has all the answers. This guy is way stronger than the heroes or the Demon King, and he's on a whole different level than the main characters. So this is Yakagi, a genius mage from modern Japan who's hunting down mysteries to crack the code of this world. The guy's a total legend, right? Out of nowhere, Felmini starts blasting a fire spell. He just throws up a magic circle and blocks the hit, like it's absolutely nothing. But she isn't finished yet. She lets out one more fire blast, and that's a wrap. Our MC just steps in and shuts the whole thing down without even breaking a sweat. And man, you really have to feel bad for the poor guy. The poor girl is totally losing it, because Yakagi is pulling off all this insane magic at the same time. He's basically like, "You lost the second you choked on that spell. Did you seriously think this was a turn-based game?" He reaches into the magic circle and literally pulls out a whole sword. Next thing you know, Felminia starts chucking pebbles right at him, and Yakagi just shreds through them like they're made of paper. The girls are totally stunned that a mage like him can actually handle a sword like a pro. He's acting like it's no big deal, because back in his world, throwing hands is totally normal. He fires up 3 magic circles on his blade, thinking long spells are way too old school. Just a few minutes later, Felmini is totally wrecked and face down on the ground. But Yakagi isn't backing down and tells them this fight is far from over. Out of nowhere, the ground starts shaking like crazy, and Felminio is caught right in the middle of it. Dominia looks down and spots a massive magic circle glowing right beneath her. Yo, this guy is straight up out of control. And then, an even more massive magic circle appears right in the sky. Yakoji's warns everyone to shield up with everything they've got right as light starts raining down from the sky. After all that madness, those poor girls didn't stand a single chance. Yakagi points his sword and says he won, asking if anyone's got a problem with that. This poor girl is just trying to figure out if he's a monster, because he has all this insane power, but refuses to even face the Demon King. Like I told you, numbers are everything. And no matter how strong you are, you can't just take on an entire army while trying to fight the Demon King too. There's a massive wave of enemies, and you gotta wonder if they're actually ready to take on a crowd that big. Felminia listens to all that, and asks how he can even say that, when his magic is so insane, they'd never lose. But the MC is totally chill, saying back home this isn't even half of what he's seen, and power is just a numbers game. He already knew what was up from the start, because the magic in this world is totally old school. But honestly, he's not cool with the humans having such a massive disadvantage. A mage has to step up and own what he did in front of his whole squad. Hearing that, the girls were totally speechless. Neil's got nothing left to say, and starts apologizing. Man, she really folded way faster than I expected. She's even making a massive oath to the goddess in the MCs like, "I'm a foreigner, but I have zero clue what that's even supposed to mean." This poor girl is straight up begging for her life. The guy realizes he might have gone a bit too far, so he grabs the paper and tells her to sign it. Rule 1 is you shut your mouth about what happened, And rule 2 is, you keep his identity a total secret. It's super simple. If she plays along, she stays alive, especially since Felminia already ratted him out to the king about his insane magic skills. He's totally stunned that she actually thought she could take him on, without even having a plan B. She signs the paper like it's no big deal, but then she spots something that makes her go, "Wait, what's this?" Yakagi gives the paper a quick squeeze, and her jaw drops as she realizes something totally crazy is going down. He warns her that if she breaks their promise, it's officially game over for her. Felminia is totally losing it. But Yakagi tells her to just stay cool, act natural, and keep her mouth shut. The second she hears that, she totally breaks down and starts crying her eyes out. Our main guy is completely snapping, and he's just standing there frozen, having no clue what to do next. He tells her she better stick to her word, because he'd feel pretty bad about taking her out for no reason. And then he uses his magic to chill her out, and reminds her that she's gotta follow the rules. Somewhere else, the Yakogis are starting to panic, because they're running way behind schedule. He's just trying to figure out what the deal is with this crazy world. He thinks back to that armored golem, and is basically like, why even put a beast like that in my way, if I'm not gonna smash it? So he decides to go full detective mode, and start digging for clues. Back at the palace, the king asks Felminia if she's still keeping an eye on that guy. She's totally panicking and making up a lie on the spot, because she can't let the secret out yet. I know, right? The king is just staring at him like, "Yo, what's the deal?" But she just collapses right onto her knees. That's when Yakagi pulls up and tells everyone he's there to take care of business. The king apologizes for the late-night meeting now that they're finally alone. But then he asks about Yakagi's weird clothes, and Yakagi explains it's just his school uniform from back home, one of the only things he has left. He even tries to apologize for all the crazy drama he caused, but the kings are just shocked and tell him it's totally fine. He's dying to know what's up with Felminia and what Yakagi actually did to her. They lock eyes, and the tension is totally insane. The MC swears she didn't leak a thing, but the king already figured out the truth. She busted him for being a mage, so he silenced her. But now he's wondering how the king still managed to figure it all out. The king tried to get her to talk, but she stayed totally silent, and he finally started putting the pieces together. Yakagi claims she's still sticking to the deal. She's just keeping her mouth shut. He asks why the king is so stressed and doing this all alone. But the king says he could have just ignored it if she dies, he'll never be able to live with himself. Yakagi is totally stunned, asking if he'd actually do something like that just for her. The king says she's way too important, so he's stepping up to protect her himself. The guys are totally stunned, realizing she's safe as long as she stays quiet, since he doesn't want to kill anyone for no reason. The meeting wraps up, but the king admits he knows zero about Yakagi, so he demands to know who he really is and what he's actually planning to do. Yakagi is totally down to help, and apologizes for being a jerk before, feeling super lucky to meet the king and ready to spill everything he knows. The king demands to know who he is, and Yakagi just tells him straight up that he's a mage. He was digging for answers like a total genius, hunting down every secret. Ragi and Mizuki probably told him science runs the show, but there's actually a secret world of magic that most people don't even know exists. He wasn't sure if Felminia caught him, so he needed to shut her up. But while he was planning his next move, she sent a deadly suit of living armor to attack him. He could tell she wasn't down to talk, but he was just blowing off steam after getting dragged into that crazy world. Felminia was creeping in the shadows, but Yakagi told her to just chill out, since he was finally done bothering her. The girl bounces back, and the king makes his move. He asked when he finally caught on, but for the kid, it was a total no-brainer, so they both apologized, and the announcer told her to quit messing around and stay sharp, since being a mage in that court she's so proud of means she always has to be ready. A little while later, we head over to the other side of the castle. Ragi and Mizuki were just chilling when Felminia suddenly vanished into thin air, leaving Ragi totally shocked while Mizuki decided she really needed to master magic. A moment later, that same mage from before just strolled right past. The guy slams the door shut, and then one of them makes a move. The moment he stepped inside, he started laughing like a total psycho. He told her that Filminia finally learned her lesson for once. She let a little power boost go straight to her head after the king got totally roasted right in front of the princess's hero. He was totally shocked he fooled her so easily, and he never expected the hero's buddy to actually put the king's life in danger. She's getting booted from the court, and he's wondering if the king is actually okay with dumping his top favorite. Out of nowhere, our hero jumps in and shouts that he's having a total blast, looking more hyped than ever before. He sat there looking totally annoyed, demanding to know the rest, because he knew there was way more to spill. The mage finally realized it was Yakagi and called out his name. He asked if this was the first time they'd ever even talked. The guy was losing his mind and asked how he tracked him down, but Yakagi just said it was way too easy. He just pulled off that same magic trick he used on Filminia. He introduced himself one more time and finally dropped his name. He promises to fix the whole mess with his modern magic, and man, this guy is seriously talented. He says he's got it all under control, and since he already figured everything out, he's just using his cleanup plan as a total excuse. He also told him to quit playing dumb, since the king already knows exactly what's going on. He almost grabbed him to ask if he was the one who built that armor golem. This guy is obviously a mage, but he's just playing dumb and acting like he's totally clueless. Takagi reveals his master was the one behind it, leaving the mage totally stunned and demanding to know how he managed to get his hands on all that secret info. Our hero reminded them again that the king already knew exactly what was going on. Trying to take him out is honestly just a huge pain, but everyone knew this would be his first move for payback. When the guy asked what to do with him, the MC stayed. Right then, Filminia finally makes her big entrance. He shot the guy a total death stare and told him she was totally blown away that he actually did all of this. The announcer is just watching and calling her his special guest, so it looks like the tables have totally turned. Filminia was totally fuming, saying that anyone who hurts people just because they're jealous doesn't deserve that court mage title at all. Out of nowhere, the guy just takes off, and everyone starts hunting him down. As he was sprinting, our guy suddenly realized something felt totally wrong. The girl told him straight up that she really needed to say sorry. She definitely caused a little trouble, but Yakagi told her not to sweat it, since he already fixed the misunderstanding and took the blame for wandering off to find a way home. Plus, he's already played her for a fool once before. He finally apologized for being a total jerk and getting her all wrong. Anyway, Yakagi and her stayed right on that guy's tail. Meanwhile, this super sketchy dude was just chilling right on top of a tower. This is the exact spot where our hero's crew got summoned. He caught the whole thing on camera and told him he was totally cornered, but the guy didn't even look worried. He mocks him, asking if he seriously thought he could trap him just by showing up without a plan. He throws his hands up and a magic circle suddenly flashes right on him. This guy is about to unleash something totally insane, and you just know it's going to be a complete disaster. This mage is absolutely fuming because she stole his spotlight by summoning the heroes, making him look like a total joke in front of everyone. And now he's definitely going to make her pay. While all that's going down, the squad is honestly just vibing. He tells her straight up that she's not the only one who can pull off a stunt like that. Stopping this guy is the main goal, but Bummer is way too beat up to pull it off. That magic circle has a crazy shield that blocks every spell and stops any outside damage from hitting it. In this spot, trying to stop it with brute force is a total mistake. He used a magic circle to snatch people from another world, basically forcing them into a summoning they never agreed to. This move rips a hole right through the dimension, and if the resistance tries to stop it with force, that power is gonna come swinging back at them even harder. Long story short, this entire castle is about to get completely blown to bits. Felmini isn't buying it, but the MC says the craziest part is that only one person can pull off this magic circle trick. What he summons depends on his power level. Out of nowhere, everything finally clicks for Felminia. Suddenly, a massive glow just swallows up the whole room. Right then, a massive explosion rocks the whole place. Yakagi says he aimed the blast straight up, so the rooms nearby are probably totally trashed. The boys pull her into a hug, and right then, she looks down. All she can see is this absolutely massive monster. Seriously, I can't even tell if this thing is supposed to be a chicken, a lion, or what. Yakagi takes one look and realizes it's a Class B beast, which is a total shock. Felminia totally loses it once she realizes they're actually flying. Yakagi is super confused for a second, but then he remembers that flying magic literally doesn't exist in this world. To keep from falling, their only choice is to grab onto him. Felminia asks him what that monster is, and he's like, "Oh yeah, those things are everywhere back home." The girl brings up how Mizuki said his world had 0 demons, but Yakagi tells her she's just totally out of the loop. This crazy stuff is all over his world, but everyone is so obsessed with science that they're totally missing it. In that world, demons are everyone's worst enemy, and his world is basically the same deal. In Universe 2, the very last beast has a super mysterious name, proving that absolutely nothing lasts forever. Their natural power is basically putting the end of the world on fast forward. They turn into monsters because it's way easier to freak people out with something they can actually see and touch. Basically, these things aren't even alive, and it's all part of this thing called the Twilight Syndrome. His world isn't going to end from some weird attack, but the truth is, it was already doomed from the very start. Once this crazy stuff covers the whole world, civilization has to start all over again. The moment that legendary long twilight hits, things are getting seriously crazy because Felminia thinks these monsters are way stronger than the ones back home, meaning Yakagi's world is in way more danger than theirs. That mage was acting so cocky, claiming it's actually easy to summon a beast like that, since he's not the only one who knows the spell. Yakagi finally calls him out, pointing out that he's basically just repeating himself at this point. He asks if the guy is finally out of trash talk, and the dude gets all flustered, claiming he's got to deal with this summoned beast now. But the kid is totally chill and says it'll be easy. That's when the wizard commands his monster to go on the attack. He goes for the strike, but the monster doesn't even flinch. The poor guy is totally lost because that monster won't listen, and now the creature is just doing its own thing. He turns on him, and it's game over for that guy. Felminia asks how that even happened, and Yakagi tells her it was all because of the magic circle. That spell was supposed to bring in heroes, but it summoned a beast that obviously isn't going to follow orders. Look, with everything going down, we've got to focus on taking that monster out first. Right then, she blasts the monster with a massive fire spell, but it literally does absolutely nothing. Yakagi is totally hyped up and ready to go. Trump tells them they've got to figure out a way to crush this thing. Felminia asks if he didn't just say magic was totally useless, and Yakagi admits he's right, but magic is a whole different game. And man, this kid is a total natural. He literally just summoned a magic circle right out of thin air, for real. He pulled it off with just one Hasigamoses. He totally wrecks that beast and drops it for good. That was way easier than anyone thought it'd be, right? Yakagi sticks the landing like a total legend and finally says it. He says everything is totally chill now, and the whole squad is safe. All the girls were losing it, asking if that was actually real magic. He's seriously wondering if wizards can actually pull off moves that insane. She's totally stuck on the little things from her world, and there's just no way you can reach her. Yakagi says he's just a mystery geek, and while the wizards here shout out epic spells, he's doing things way differently. It's a whole different vibe, because those otherworld wizards are just obsessed with explaining their magic and becoming unstoppable. They're doing all this just to be totally unstoppable, no matter where they show up. He's got to crack that magic code and finally make his dad's dream come true. He's definitely finding a way back home so he can get his hands on that legendary Akashic record. Suddenly, The MC hears a noise in the rubble, and there's the wizard. He's looking totally trashed, but he's still not out of the fight. Yakagi just laughs and says this guy has the worst luck ever, but things are about to get way crazier. But it's all good because he's totally wrecked, just like we knew he'd be. The mage is totally losing it, shouting about how insane it was to use those moves to wreck the monsters. Just a few minutes later, a ton of other soldiers show up to fill the ranks. We gotta keep this a total secret, because nobody can ever find out what that kid just did. A soldier asks what went down, and Filminia just says the last wizard turned traitor, so they took care of him. They're spilling all the tea to the King AS app, but Yakagi is totally sure they're just lying. Once the chaos settles, the soldiers haul the wizard off, leaving the announcers totally stunned that she actually saved the day. She's got a massive grin on her face as she thanks them for the help. The kids still have no idea what's happening, and Filminia is just like, "We gotta rush back to the castle and give the king the news ASAP." Back at the capital's gate, the hero squads are finally making their move. They're on the move, and Yakagi is totally chill, but Ragi is low-key panicking and wondering if he made a huge mistake by saying yes. Hero or not, that demon army is still charging in, so they've got to figure out a plan fast since he's totally clueless and a massive wave of monsters is about to hit them. They're just waiting for the perfect moment to crush the Demon King. But then the host asks what happens if someone else steals the win while they're gone, leaving Ragi totally stunned, and he's pushing forward with that vibe because he knows if he doesn't step his game up, he's gonna be dead meat sooner or later. Yakagi just laughs it off, saying he's always diving headfirst into things without a plan. He's totally fine with his wild side, but he better watch out, because this new enemy is on a whole different level. But Ragi? He's already totally locked in and ready for this. Our boy says that if he's only doing this to stay alive, then he's got absolutely nothing left. I've said my piece, so just make sure you don't go doing anything crazy. Ragi switches things up and asks Yakagi if he's worried about making that Imperial sorcerer mad, since he saw him right there in the middle of the chaos. But the kid just brushes it off like it's nothing. The kids are just relieved they're safe. But then Yakagi points out that the ritual site is totally fried. Ragi doesn't care about any of that, because the only thing that matters is the MC is safe. Yakagi gets super shy and asks if he's finally brave enough to say that, while the other girls apologize for all the drama back on the castle cruise. But Yakagi isn't even sweating it, because Filminia has totally come through for him before. Ragi asks what the move is, and he's seriously considering just ditching the whole castle. He's got zero plans right now. He just wants to get out there and live his life in the wild. Ragi's totally shocked and asks how he'll survive. But Yakagi just says he'll find a job. Then the princess promises her dad will protect him and asks why. So now the kid is feeling totally out of place inside that massive castle. Ragi isn't falling for it, but the MC tells him to chill out, because starting a fight right before they leave will only make things way worse. Mizuki asks if he's doing all right, but he just shrugs it off, saying he's got a plan to sell some books, and tells her she's the one who should be worried. But she totally shuts him down and tells him to go learn some magic tricks instead. Yakuigi asks if she's really ready to face the Demon King, but then tells her to stop doubting herself because her magic is top tier and she's got Ragi's back. Yakagi thinks that if we're talking magic, the princess should be the absolute GOAT, but he's totally confused about her being a daughter. The princess knows her dad and brother have the kingdom totally locked down, so she's heading out to handle her own mission. Ragi is crazy strong, but he can't solo this fight, so she's stepping up as the chosen one and giving it everything she's got. Once the guys hear this, they're all like, "Whoa, he actually says sorry," and asks her to look after his best friend. And she's just like, she tells everyone they're officially a team now, so there's totally nothing to worry about. With that out of the way, our guy checks on Ragi to see if he's still missing home. He's feeling pretty rough, but he knows exactly what he's getting into, right? Sometimes Ragi is just staring at the clouds lost in his head, while Mizuki is stuck in her room having a total meltdown. They'd never see their families again, and nobody even knew it was their very last day. He knows this is way too much for them to handle, so he's not letting it slide until he finds a way back home. Ragi notices him looking totally serious and asks if he's actually bummed that they're finally leaving. But the kid just bursts out laughing and says he seems super chill. They're finally saying their goodbyes. Yakagi is dead set on proving everyone can be saved, and he's gonna find a way back just for the two of them. So the princess is like, "Let's get moving!" With their goal locked in, the whole squad finally hits the road. One soldier in the back is totally losing it, screaming out of pure jealousy. The announcers are just watching from the sidelines, looking totally over it. Yakagi's just chilling while walking through the capital, checking out his new fit, and thinking he's finally just a normal dude. He started wondering if it was finally time to hit up the Adventurers Guild. He walks these streets like a total legend, but honestly, cash is still a massive mystery. The kid slams right into an old man holding a bag of money and tells him it's a gift straight from the king. Usually, a guy with his sketchy energy wouldn't score a win this big, and our hero's just like, "Oops, my bad." He finally grabs it, wondering if the king is actually trying to be bros with a guy like him. He reads the letter, hoping the king is actually being cool, but he knows this is definitely a trap for a favor later on. He needs that cash right now, and honestly, he's got no choice but to say yes. Later, Yakagi is just vibing at the Adventurers Guild when a random girl asks if he's been there before, so he tells her it's his first time, and she admits she's also new and was totally lost looking for the sign-up line. Our MC thinks there's a total mix-up and asks if she's signing up to be an adventurer, so she awkwardly admits that since fighting is her only real skill, she figured this would be a pretty sweet gig. She introduces herself, telling them her name is Lefil. She finally speaks up and asks him for his name. He gives her a look, and she immediately apologizes, saying she knows it's super weird that she just showed up. But she actually has a good reason. After getting a message at the Church of Salvation about a mystery meeting, she starts demanding everyone's names. But Yakagi is watching the whole thing and thinks she's acting super sus. She agrees, but says he's the real sus one for even noticing, though she's totally chill with it. She's totally stunned. Her normal prayer led to all this, and time just flew by in a total blur. Yakagi is totally stunned and asks if she's been at it all day, but she just says he's the 10th guy. And apparently, some people definitely got the wrong vibe from her. But he figures any guy would be just as flustered if a girl that pretty started talking to them. She switches things up and asks for his name, and he tells her he's Yakagi. He asks if these church messages happen all the time, and she says she's a regular, but hearing one is super rare, especially since the Church of Salvation can drop a message that would literally shake the whole country. She's honestly dying to know what's going on in the goddess's head, because it's a total mystery. The guild worker calls her name, and she gives him a quick thanks for the chat. Yakagi waves back, and just a few minutes later, it's finally his turn to step up. The girl says sorry for the wait, and officially welcomes him to the Adventurers Guild. She asks if he's a total newbie since he looks so shocked, then tries to get him to pick a mission, but he tells her he's actually there to join the guild. She hears this, and her jaw just hits the floor. They ask him to repeat himself, and he says it again. He's joining the guild. She's totally confused, and asks him if he even knows what the Adventurers Guild is. She's got zero time for games, and tells him to beat it if he's joking, while our boy is just standing there wondering why this guild stuff is so different from the manga he reads. Out of nowhere, this jacked adventurer pops up and asks if he's really trying to join the guild. He could totally bail right now and act like it was all a joke, but Yakagi isn't moving an inch because he wants in. The adventurer mocks him for being so scrawny and asks if he can even keep up, but our boy doesn't even blink before saying, "Yeah, you got a problem with that?" This kid was itching for a fight, and he definitely found one, but the guild lady shuts it down quick, telling him to beat it since he can't even swing a sword yet. He tries to argue that he's been in plenty of fights before, but then it finally clicks, and he realizes the truth. This dude is straight up glaring him down right now. That's when it finally hits him. He's wearing a totally different outfit. The adventurer asks if he's really that strong, and Yakagi just says he wouldn't even be standing there if he wasn't. This guy gets totally fired up and says he's gonna test them himself, but the guild girl tries to shut it down since members aren't allowed to beat up regular people. The guy argues this isn't just random violence, and since the new dude wants to join, the rules don't really apply, so testing him on the spot is totally fine. Plus yak. That's when the adventurer finally snaps and charges straight at Yakagi with his sword. But Yakagi just shuts that down like it's a total joke. Man, even the guild staff are totally lost and have no clue what's happening. The guy is flat on the floor with a smashed nose, asking what Yakagi just did to him. Yakagi just shrugs and says it was all just magic. Everyone was losing it because he used magic without saying a word, and the kid just apologizes for not mentioning he was a mage. Everyone's eyes are glued to him, totally blown away that a guy with that look is actually a mage. The boy asks the guild lady if she thinks he's lying, and she says it's not that. It's just that he doesn't even have a staff. But our guy is built different and doesn't need gear yet, and the attendant tells him he'll only need items for the massive spells or to block attacks. He thinks using tools for the tricky. Head down there, and if you can't pull it off, you're basically just a third-rate mage. Yakagi says sorry for the clothes, but the guy tells him it's all good since he overreacted too. So our hero asks if he can finally get registered. Once they get everything sorted out, the golden girl says she wasn't trying to be mean, but his name is actually pretty weird, so he just smirks and says he gets that. She asks him to spill what his element is, but that's a massive secret that nobody else is ever allowed to know. Our hero stops to think and says he's at least a fire mage, which completely shocks the girl since she thought his last spell was fire. But then Yakagi reveals he can use wind magic. The attendant realizes he can use 2 elements, and man, that is just straight up scary. Looking around, Yakagi realizes that ever since he showed up, these guys have been super obsessed with elements. At first, he used this insane number magic to summon any element just by hitting the right combo. A second later, the guild girl asks if he can use restoration magic, and when he looks totally lost, she asks if he's even heard of it before. Our hero says no way, thinking it's just some basic healing magic, and once they're done talking, she decides to test his skills to see what rank he actually lands in. She finally introduces herself as Dorothea, and she's the one in charge of all the new guild members. He says sorry for being a jerk, because Araha's got a crazy short fuse and hasn't been acting chill lately. Tons of country folks are flooding in to become adventurers, even though they have 0 skills. And since the hero showed up a few days ago, the guild is getting swamped with shady people just looking for a free ride. This girl is totally obsessed with Ragi, claiming he's got the exact same looks and insane skills as the legendary heroes from the past. Yakagi asks if she thinks the hero can actually win, and she says it's totally possible if the rumors are true. But Yakagi is super confused because he thought all that info came straight from history books. Whenever things get crazy, legendary heroes get summoned to this world with insane powers, like one guy who could literally slice through titans as big as the sky. And there are tons of legends he's asking him what his take is on the whole thing. Everyone's wondering if the hero can actually pull it off, while the kid just stays quiet for a few seconds. He says if the hero is really as strong as she claims, they might actually have a shot, but he thinks it's totally naive to assume they'll win, just because a hero. Dorothea shuts him up fast, warning him that if the Church of Salvation hears him, he's totally toast. But the guild members aren't buying it, because they're way too ka. The guild was getting slammed with non-stop missions, and Yakagi figured he got the boot just because he was a totally normal guy. She says a guild guardian would change everything, and it's honestly super weird for a total newbie to just walk in there without a weapon. The kid says he's sorry, and she tells him it's all good as long as he finally gets it. Yakagi switches things up and asks what this skill measurement is all about, and you just know things are about to get way more hype. Now our main guy is heading straight into a massive showdown. This poor dude is totally clueless, but he's about to get a massive reality check. But on the other side, a bunch of random extras are already waiting for him. Dorothea's gonna sit back and see if he can actually handle those two. So we've got a mage and a warrior in the mix, but our MC is just low-key watching everything go down. He asks if there's any way to check his level without fighting, so she asks if he's got a better idea. Since his guild is one of the best around, they've got a pro training area with magic-proof walls that won't even get a scratch from basic spells. And hearing this, the kids were totally losing it, because they couldn't believe something this insane was actually real. The warrior guy asks what his class is, and Yakagi just shrugs and says he's basically a mage, totally chilling, and just going with whatever vibe he's feeling. The guy stares him down to see if he's actually ready, but then Dorothea suddenly jumps in and stops everything. Yakagi feels the awkward vibe and asks if the guy is in a bad mood, so Dorothea explains they just failed their last test, but the dude snaps at them to shut up and asks Yakagi who he wants to throw down with. The kid starts going totally crazy and says he's gonna take them both on at the same time. He is straight up testing this guy's patience, and it's getting crazy. The girl is totally lost and asks if he's for real, but Yakuigi just wants to wrap this up so he can find a place to stay and get back to the guild. The guy warns him to drop the ego because if he misjudges his opponent's power, his rank is getting sliced in half. But even when offered a free pass to walk away, the cocky dude just says he doesn't need any favors. He's totally ready to throw down and asks if he's sure he won't regret it, telling his friend he can't let this kid keep clowning him like this, so. All right, Dorothea is finally ready to get this fight started. Right then, Yukagi pulls out a crazy flask and draws his sword. These two are totally lost because the kid straight up told them he's a mage. Our main guy is chasing it down since he just used magic too, and now this other dude is tailing him to see what's really going on. This guy is acting way too cocky and starts telling him he can't win. Akagi doesn't stand a chance with his current power level, but our guy pulls off some insane moves in just a few seconds. He pulls off some insane dodges and finally spots a massive opening. He totally blanked on the fact that a whole mage was still standing right there. And just like that, the guy unleashes a massive wind spell. Bell's about to make his move, but Yakagi shuts it down by triggering a magic circle. He shuts it down completely, and the rewarder is totally shocked as he speaks up. Yakuagi pulls out some insane skills he picked up at a nearby dojo, leaving the other mage totally stunned and wondering what kind of magic he just used. Our MC calls it defensive magic, but the guy says that's not the point, and the guild lady is totally losing her mind because he cast it without saying a single word. While he just shrugged. She insists magic is impossible without elements or chanting, but this guy somehow broke all the rules and pulled it off anyway. After hearing all that, Yakagi finally starts to get how this whole thing works. Using elements is a total drag, because it slows down every spell, and while the mage is dying to know what's happening, Yakagi just brushes it off despite being completely caught off guard. He asks him if he seriously doesn't care about that at all. The guy totally loses it and blasts another wind spell from his staff, but of course our boy just throws up a magic circle and shuts the whole thing down like it's nothing. The mage is totally freaking out in shock, and out of nowhere, the other warrior lunges straight for our guy. But a second later, he triggers another magic circle and shouts that an attack like that won't even touch him. He slips right past the guy's swing and hits him with a quick poke. Okay, that sounds way too sus. Yakagi warns him again that magic is useless, but the mage doesn't listen and fires off another wind spell anyway. Yagaki throws down a magic circle to cancel the move, But this guy is totally ready for it. This guy isn't backing down at all, shouting that the fight is far from over. Man, this mage seriously doesn't know when to give up. This dude tries to bolt from the magic circle, but he gets shut down hard. Out of nowhere, the other warrior rushes straight at our guy. The kid tries to move, but he gets pinned down in a heartbeat. He looks down and brags that he's finally the winner this time. The guy slams into the dirt, looking totally wrecked. Dorothea is losing her mind that our hero actually took them both out. And just then, that girl in the hat pops back up and says she saw every second of it. She's totally blown away by how insanely strong he is. Yakagi's super confused and asks why she's even there. So she tells him her registration took way too long, and she just happened to catch him mid-fight. But since our boy is just chilling at the guild without a weapon, she honestly thinks he's just there to put in a request for help. The kid catches them talking and just shrugs it off with a quick, "Oops, my bad." And then even the guild staff are asking if they're all friends. But the girls are just like, "Nah, we literally just met him a second ago." Then Dorothea starts hyping up this mage and warrior duo, saying they're so overpowered that almost nobody has ever managed to beat them both at once. Yakagi's jaw drops as she realizes she's the one who actually did it. And now it totally makes sense why those two were acting so salty earlier. The guild lady jumps in and says Yakagi's win was actually super insane. But let's switch things up. Back in Gears, Dorothea tells Lefil she's a total pro at magic and wonders if Yakagi is finally a rival worth her time. This guy's got some insane skills, and Yakoge is wondering how he stacks up against the heavy hitters she knows. Her attendant jumps in, claiming Yakoge is so. Yakagi asks about Lefil, and she realizes he isn't just obsessed with power. He's actually just a really curious guy. She admits she's no expert, but she thinks Yakagi's magic is weak compared to the pros who can flatten a city with one move. Man, she really just roasted him. Dorothea's dying to know who Yakagi actually is, since he's such a beast at fighting. But he can't exactly tell her he's reincarnated, so he just claims he's from a distant land. Yakagi asks if she's hitting up Nephilia, and Lefil says she's going there to learn magic from the ground up, since she's still a total beginner. Yakagi's just looking around like, "Seriously? All this chaos just for some magic?" She nods, admitting she never really took things seriously. And while Dorothea thinks it'd be sick to have her around, she's totally bummed she's leaving. But at least they've got a cracked mage on the squad now, even if Yakagi warns he's eventually bouncing to Krant. Her dreams are totally trashed now that her two best mages are out of the game. Yakagi says sorry, but he's got other plans, and he's gonna hit up Lefil's city while he's at it. Krantz pops up and says he's not sure when they'll see each other next, but he's totally down to team up again. He's got that crazy bounce, but he definitely picked up some major lessons from their scrap. They say their goodbyes, and Yakagi realizes this is finally it. Letting her walk is fine since she won't snitch, but leaving even one loose end could ruin everything. Enough with the small talk. Yakagi asks the guild attendant what his rank is. After taking down those mages, his rank is obviously gonna be high. Starting at rank C is good, but he's got the juice for rank B, which totally shocks Yakuigi since Yakagi says they'll only find out if someone snitches, but she thinks a rookie hitting rank B is already a total flex. Yakagi's totally chill about it, figuring there's no way he's becoming famous anyway. These two are just D-rankers, and he's basically saying they'll never be more than average mages. Man, he is really roasting them. Sorry in advance for what's about to go down. Yakagi drops a spell and sends everyone there straight to sleep, but one mage stays wide awake, demanding to know why. Yakagi makes it clear he's still just after that rank, so he can finally do his own thing. The guy thinks it's totally insane, since your rank is what gets you the best jobs. But Yakagi just wants to avoid any drama and sharpen his skills by fighting the locals. He starts wondering about his memories, since the reception crew clearly knows him. But Yakagi points out that just because they recognize his face doesn't mean they know what he's capable of. People always freak out when they don't understand something, So if someone's a mystery, they'll just assume they're weak and say what happened at the party was total luck. He promises that once he wakes up, everything will be totally fine. Their reputation will stay safe, and nobody's gonna get in trouble. The mage finally realizes he's just hiding his true self, and since our hero is spot on, that's exactly why he took them both on at the same time. A few days fly by, and our heroes are totally grinding to get stronger. He takes a quick break, so he doesn't burn out on his first day. But his real mission is getting back home. And since he's already read every book in the palace, to find Nephilia, he's got to head to Krantz City on the western edge. But he wants to dig up some more info on her first. He's just trying to handle his business when, bam, he slams right into someone. Our boy just shrugs and admits he totally messed up. Things are looking rough, and the girls are breaking down in tears. Taking the lead in the hero spot, we've got Lefil. A little while later, we find our main guy right in the heart of the capital. Our MC tells an old guy he's the new guard for the caravan, and the old man introduces himself as the boss, Galeo. Having a healer is a total game changer, and if anyone gets wrecked on the way, they're all relying on him to patch them up. They're about to head out, so stay put, but right then, someone suddenly screams for the MC. AMC is back, and Lefil is on the scene again, exactly how the kids like it. He asks why she's even there, and she says she's also tagging along with the caravan to Yakagi's shop. He's totally blown away since he thought she was gonna chill. But she says a job from 2 days ago paid out so much cash that she decided to just speed everything up. She also wanted to talk about what happened this morning and say sorry for the whole mess. Yakagi tries to ask if something went down, but he gets cut off mid-sentence. He stops the second he notices she's totally uncomfortable. He changes the subject to ask about her new job, and she explains she's hunting ghouls for a massive emergency payout since they're so dangerous. But he's totally clueless and asks if they're just some kind of ogre. But for real, these guys are on a whole other level. They're straight-up monsters that literally snack on humans. The kid is totally stunned since he's never heard of that. And Lefil tells him that people like him are actually super rare. They're basically a smaller breed of giant, and they're so insanely strong that just one ghoul can level an entire fortress. But these things don't usually show up in a place like this. Hearing that, our guy starts breaking down exactly what's going on. He remembers reading about some insane monsters in the castle library, and those books actually have 2 main theories about them. Monsters usually show up when nature gets weird, or a demon starts building an army. But since the natural spawn rate is low here, there's definitely a demon lurking nearby. She's totally shocked, and has to admit he's probably right. Out of nowhere, the other old guy shouts for them to get back to the caravan, and Yakagi asks if something's wrong. He's getting all worked up, but she tells him he needs to chill out. Something feels super sketchy, and Yakagi is thinking the exact same thing. A little while later, the whole crew is finally rolling out. Yakagi asks about this goddess named Elshuna, and Lefil explains she's the one who built their entire world and is the ultimate boss over every magical creature out there. Yakagi figures everyone follows the same religion. Then Lefil explains that every race from dwarves to dragons actually worships this one goddess. He asks if Yakagi's world had stuff like that, but Yakagi says they only argued about if they were even real, while Lefil promises they'll see plenty once they reach. It's honestly insane that Yakagi has zero clue about goddess Elshuna, even though she's literally from his own world. She hits him with a massive side-eye and tells him he's been trying way too hard to sound smart lately. They're only a year or 2 apart, so they can totally ditch the formal act. If things get messy, they can trade info way faster, and he can finally just call her by her name. He's tripping over his words trying to say her name, but she just shuts him down with a massive burn. Suddenly, someone calls for a breather, and the whole crew starts huddling up. She says those guys are her ghoul mission squad, and they're actually super close now. They're calling her over, asking if she's down to join their squad. He's totally chill with it, so she heads out, while he just stands there with his eyes glued to her. So you guys want to see what kind of crazy stuff Ragi and his crew are up to right now? Suddenly we cut to the other guy throwing hands with a massive monster. The guy is barely hanging on and fighting for his life. But with Mizuki backing him up, they're actually holding their own. He's trapped in there with only one monster left standing. Ragi sees his opening and finishes the fight right then and there. He finishes the job with one final sword slash. Ragi is totally gassed after fighting non-stop all day long. He checks to see if Mizuki is doing okay, and she's just like, "Man, so this is what it's actually like to go up against some real-deal villains?" Ragi tells her to take a breather, but she insists she's good, even though she's clearly pushing it. And he's been on his feet since the whole thing started. Reggie's down for it. But these monsters are total trash compared to the Demon King's crew, and we're all just thinking about how our boy is way out of their league. Now he totally gets why the guy called their moves way too reckless. Mizuki suddenly trips because she's totally wiped out, and Ragi feels super guilty for dragging her into this mess. They take off, and pretty soon the whole squad rolls up. The princess pulls the girl into a massive hug, just glad she's safe and that things didn't get messy. Ragi switches things up to give them some props, but the old guy just says he's doing it all to keep the princess safe. The girl is totally crushed that she couldn't save the horses from those monsters, and while Ragi is also bummed, he's just relieved they're finally safe. Mizuki realizes the princess actually knows her stuff in a fight, and she admits she's seen some serious action before. The moment Ragi got summoned, she was picked as his sidekick, so she had to train for literally anything. But don't even sweat it. She used to be way weaker than this. She seriously needs to back herself more, because her epic journey is just getting started. Mizuki gives her a quick thanks and asks if she knows where the main guy is. The princess is sure he'll never leave the castle, because if he actually ran into a magical beast, he'd be totally cooked. Ragi jumps right into the action, claiming he's got this because his sword skills are totally cracked, leaving everyone stunned that he actually knows how to fight. During the play, Mizuki mentions that he was actually in the kendo club. Suzuki's jaw drops because he totally refuses to believe that place is actually a dojo. The princess asks Yakagi if he's actually into martial arts, because let's be real, he doesn't look like a fighter at all. Ragi says everyone gets it wrong, because he's actually way more skilled than he looks. She admits she totally underestimated him, even if his moves are basic. But Ragi isn't sweating it, because he knows the kid is smart and has everything handled. Mizuki switches gears and asks about the demons, because it totally looks like they're after Nephilia. But the girl tells him to hold up, explaining that since that spot is right between kingdoms, a demon being there basically means a massive invasion is coming. They'd have to cross 2 whole dot. When they ask Gregory for his take, he admits he has no clue how demon armies work, but he's 100% sure they need to get out of there right now. The princess totally agrees because even though they need to figure out the demon's secret plan, charging in without a clue would be a total disaster. Ragi wonders if demons are hiding anywhere else, but the old man explains that in this world, monsters only ever spawn from the north whenever a hero appears. Out of nowhere, another soldier charges right in. The girl looks at him and asks, "Yo, what happened to your buddy?" Everyone's losing it and shouting that they need to get out of there fast because a huge swarm of monsters is heading their way. It's just a gut feeling based on some demon tracks the night patrol spotted. He hasn't spotted a single demon or any signs of a fight. And Mizuki's totally confused, because if those monsters were actually around, they definitely would have jumped them by now. Ragi realizes this wasn't just bad luck, and they're actually being hunted. But he's not worried, because a few demons won't be enough to take him down. The demons probably know a hero was summoned, but since they're so confused by his plan, they've got a patrol stalking them. The princess thinks they're just trying to spy into us. There wasn't even a messenger with them, so Rage asks how big the army is, and finds out there are about 1,000 soldiers. They zoomed out of there in a jet, But now they're stuck with just one horse in the dark and need to find a path. Right then, the old man's cooking up a plan and says the timing is finally perfect. He tells them they don't have to worry about a single other thing. Fast forward a few days, and back with the main squad, Lefil asks him if he noticed anything yet. The kid sneaks a quick look over his shoulder. The second they hit this forest, the whole vibe just got super weird. He's wondering if it's some kind of magic beast, because there's no way that thing is human. Nah, it's probably just a straight-up demon. Man, you just know this is about to end in a total disaster. Yakagi asks if she's just guessing it's a demon, but she's 100% sure because she knows those monsters better than anyone. Out of nowhere, another adventurer runs up and says the mages sense magic nearby, so the leader wants them there right now. Yakagi asks what's the deal with the merchants and suggests using them as bait for traps, but the guy says they're actually heading into the forest since the path ahead is crawling with monsters. If things go south, they're gonna get totally surrounded. The boss thinks it's way safer to keep the enemies in sight than get jumped from behind. So Lefil asks who's actually on their team if they're about to. He tells them not to scare the monsters away, because if they just stay on defense, the beasts won't even worry about them. He heads back to his post and leaves the rest to the group, while Lefil admits she has no clue what's about to go down. But she's not just seeing regular monsters. These are straight-up demons telling them to go warn their leader right now. The adventurers are totally stunned and ask how she knows. But she just says her experience tells her these things have a way different vibe than normal monsters. He's still totally stunned, but he gets the vibe and lets them handle the rest. Right after that, Lefil snatches up a massive sheath and whips out a sword. He's just standing there with his jaw dropped, totally stunned that she's actually a pro with a sword. She charges straight to the front lines, shouting that she's gonna land the first hit. Yakagi asks if they're good to wait since the enemy is still far off, wondering if she should just go talk to their leader first. She tells him to look around because all these guys are just playing defense, and that's definitely not gonna be enough to win. So he's gotta jump into the action and start taking those demons down. These guys are only here to loot and wreck everything, and he knows that just playing defense isn't going to be enough to stop them. Yakagi knows playing it safe is risky, but he still thinks this plan is a total fail, so Lefil asks if he just wants her to focus on defense instead. Yakagi admits she's probably not strong enough to take him down all by herself. They should probably bail and come up with a better plan, but she says she knows the deal and isn't underestimating their strength anymore. He's basically asking if our guy can actually take on every single one of them. Seriously, demons are nothing but trouble, and from the second they're born until they're gone, they never do anything right. So the only choice is to find a way to wipe them all out for good. She wipes every single one of them out, and as she starts to leave, she just says that's all. Our guy tries to step in, but she just thanks him and tells him to stop worrying while he guards the cargo, as if he's actually gonna stay put. It's super obvious our boy is just following her every move. Just a few minutes later, a whole gang of monsters shows up. Whoa, those demons really just pulled up and started some serious trouble. Yakagi is just playing it cool, waiting for the perfect second to jump in and start swinging. Suddenly, Lefil jumps in and slashes right through one of them. Whoa, these girls are actually cracked, right? But then she shouts that this fight is far from over. There are way more of them this time, and with the team still banged up and missing people, they're totally outnumbered. Suddenly, our guy shuts his eyes and locks in, realizing there are about 20 of these monsters. The other dude says there's no way to run, so they're gonna have to stand their ground and fight. The other merchant is totally freaking out, stuttering that he's only in Nephilia for some quick errands. But Lefil tells him to relax because she's going to handle everything. Just as they tell the announcer it's time, the whole ground starts to shake like crazy. All you can see is a whole squad of monsters charging straight ahead. Right then, Lefil's sword starts glowing like crazy, and then she just starts wrecking every single one of them. Our guy just stands there watching, wondering if she's actually a real human being. This insane power isn't just about raw strength. It can actually mess with every living thing out there. He's starting to think this girl is way more spirit than human. The girl just keeps taking on every demon in her way, asking them if that's seriously all they've got. The soldiers are getting totally hyped because they realize that with Lefil on their side, they actually have a chance to win. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking again, and the other mage yells for everyone to watch out because she feels a massive surge of magic. Suddenly, a whole bunch of new monsters start showing up out of nowhere. Lethal yells for everyone to fall back, but right then, a massive explosion rocks the whole place. Suddenly, another demon pops up, and man, this guy is way more jacked than the rest. With a huge smirk on his face, he brags that he finally tracked it down. Our main guy just hangs back and watches, totally stuck in his head about what he just said. Everyone was totally freaked out by this demon, and Yakagi realized this monster was on a whole other level. The demon mocks him, saying he's not actually that tough, and that all the hype was probably just fake news. But honestly, it doesn't even matter, because he's still going through with his plan anyway. He's calling out to every single human on the planet. He introduces himself as Rajasth, one of the Demon King's 7 elite generals, and he tells them they're way too weak to survive, so they should just give up and lose all. Lefil loses her cool and lunges straight for the general. Wait, what? Just like that, he blocks the whole move without even flinching. He admits that she's actually got some serious skills. She asks if he seriously forgot her sword, or even worse, who she actually is. The monster suddenly freezes right in its tracks. He pauses to think for a second, then says he finally remembers. He asks if she's the Gnosis army survivor, who somehow cheated death on the road, while everyone else got totally wrecked. And just like that, she lunged straight at him. He's throwing a ton of punches, but he's totally missing every single one. That cocky monster just smirks and tells her that her moves are way too basic. Now he's hitting them right back, but out of nowhere, our boy leaps in to save her. The girl straight up tells him it's time to get lost. Yakagi summons a magic circle and manages to blast the demon with a crazy attack. That monster was still on its feet. He almost nails Yakagi, but he manages to dodge it at the very last second. The demon is totally shook, wondering how our hero isn't a flat pancake after a hit like that. Right at that exact second, our boy suddenly appears right behind him. He rushes in and slams him with a massive earth attack. That thing slammed down so hard, its head actually got buried in the dirt. Our boy just keeps on pushing forward, but out of nowhere, another massive blast goes off. He realizes that gross power would never work for a human, so it's definitely some crazy loot from another world. The demons are absolutely losing it, because they never expected a mage to get this insanely strong. Yakagi starts clowning him for missing every single shot, but the monster just laughs at his pathetic power level. Lefil tells Kanatas to back off, because this beast has enough power to blow the entire area to bits. Just then, the massive dude lets out a huge roar. Yakagi thinks he's just dealing with another lazy bum, so he decides to go ham while he's still winning. But he's way too slow, because that monster is already bouncing away. He warns Lefil that his power is no joke, and promises to come back for a rematch once he gets his squad together. She hears that, and immediately asks, "So what's the deal with those demons up there?" He's basically like, "This is just a tiny squad from my whole army." He knows she realizes this demon army is massive, since he's got them surrounding the entire area. They'll straight up wreck any human they catch sight of. And just like that, the guy totally bails. Lefil tries to hold him back, but the MC stops her because they've got to help the injured people first. He asks if she's doing okay, but she just tells him she's sorry. Time just blurs past as our guy stays super busy helping out all the adventurers. While that's going down, Lefil is just hanging out and talking with the group. She asks what's up, because she's sure there's still more to do. They're wondering if the demons will jump them if they don't get to safety fast. Then this other guy totally loses it, screaming that the whole attack was her fault. That demon was probably hunting her down, and caused all this crazy chaos. Yakagi jumps in to back her up, pointing out that it makes zero sense for her to be the target this whole time. The demon clearly had no clue about her past, so she wasn't even the target, but Mustache Guy is still totally lost and asking what it all means. Yakagi realizes the demon was actually hunting for info, but they keep yapping for so long that the announcer finally snaps and says they're getting nowhere. Suddenly, another merchant jumps in and tells everyone to chill out so he can keep his people safe. The adventurer asks why, but the old man just says that since he's the boss, it's his problem to handle. He's got to make sure Lefil stays safe above everything else. She's the reason they're all demon bait now, so the leader has to step up and handle it. She hears that and asks if he wants her to just bounce. The old guy says losing her power is a total drag, but since she's basically a demon magnet, he's got no other choice. Everyone is super hyped, but she has to head out because there's literally no other choice. Our guy tries to step in, asking if they're seriously just gonna ditch her, but the adventurer says she's a total demon magnet, and whatever happens to her is her own problem. Yakagi asks if everyone is actually down for this, but the whole room just goes dead silent. The adventurer thinks Yakagi wants the same thing, but the MC totally shuts him down, even joking that Yakagi probably just has a massive crush on her because she's so... Once he hears that, the guy is totally ready to throw down. Out of nowhere, Lefil jumps in and tells them that fighting won't solve a thing. The old man says they're heading back, and since she's got no other choice, she agrees, but tells him she's taking a different path. Just a few minutes later, she's already packing her bags, while the MC stands there, wondering if this is really how it ends. The other adventurers are probably thinking the exact same thing. Then Lefil looks right at him and says that even though they haven't really hung out much, she hopes he makes it to Nephilia in one piece and heads out, leaving Yakagi all alone to wonder if this is really how it all ends. The other guy tells Yakagi they're dipping out, but Yakagi is just like... He decides to stay with the girl and says thanks, but the merchant is totally shocked, warning him that if he bails now, he won't get a single cent. But Yakugeze wasn't budging, telling them all he really needs is some food and water. Just as he's packing up all his gear, this random adventurer shows up and starts acting like a total jerk, so Yakagi just snaps his fingers and deletes him instantly, while the other knight checks if he's all right. Yakagi warns everyone that they seriously need to stay on high alert from now on. He's decided right then and there that he's never gonna leave anyone behind. Next, we jump right over to see what Ragi is up to. He's totally freaking out and asks if they're using the hero as bait, and the old man just says, "Yep, you heard me right." Mizuki tells everyone to just chill out and listen to what he has to say. He explains the demons swarmed the border with soldiers, using our boy as total bait so the hero could escape. And Yakagi has no idea this conversation is even happening. A few days later, he ditches the castle to snag a guild mission, but the nobles find out and decide to use him for their own gain. Mizuki thinks Yakagi needs to realize the world isn't a game, but the old man says he's already gone and joined up with some traitors. Rage is totally losing his cool, demanding to know why he's the one stuck being the bait. The old guy warns the hero that he's facing a massive demon army that moves way faster than any human can handle. Duke Adria warned that it'd be a total disaster if the hero got wrecked. And when Mizuki asks who this guy even is, the princess explains he's a massive deal-in. The old guy explains that the Duke and some nobles called a secret meeting because, even though they believe in the hero, they think he's just not ready to take on a whole army yet. The princess asks how they're gonna fool the demons, but the old guy admits their plan just hit a massive wall. They sent out a bunch of clueless soldiers, tricking them into thinking the heroes were just part of a merchant group heading for Krant. If the soldiers got caught, they'd just feed the demons a bunch of lies, so all their intel was totally fake. Ragi is absolutely losing it, demanding to know if their lives even matter to him. This old guy thinks it's totally worth losing his soldiers if it means the hero stays alive. He says the merchants are totally innocent, but with demon armies swarming the border, this is their only shot at buying some time. Ragi is totally losing it and wants to know why everyone kept him out of the loop. This guy was clearly told to keep his mouth shut, but honestly, it's way too late for that now. The report shows exactly where the trading company is, and they've definitely run into the demons by now. He thinks he can hide, but the guy says those demons are going to hunt through every single corner until they find him. The princess asks how they're defended, and Krantz reveals they've got mercenaries, guild fighters, and a super-secret relic squad ready for action. Ragi's totally against using Yakagi as bait, but the old man warns him that the demon army is already right on top of them. If they don't lock down their defenses, their kingdom is gonna get wiped out just like Nocius, and since they can't afford to lose the hero who's their only son. Man, this is just way too brutal. Ragi is totally freaking out and asks if there's another way, realizing they're just planning to sacrifice a few people to save the rest. Honestly, it's totally messed up to do this to someone who didn't even ask to be summoned. Then out of nowhere, the old guy just drops into a bow and starts apologizing for everything. He knows there's absolutely no coming back from what he's done, but he was totally backed into a corner. But get this, the kid actually forgives him and says the whole thing was his own fault. It's his own fault for ignoring orders and blabbing about Yakagi anyway. The old man just shoots the kid a super intense look. He says he literally can't lie, has zero ties to this world, and is only here to take down the Demon King. He wonders what kind of guy he'd be if he just played dumb while his friend was in a massive mess. The guy starts heading out, and the princess asks where he's going. Of course he's rushing in to save our main guy. She's totally down, but points out she doesn't have a ride, so Ragi tells her to just grab the knight's horse, since it's still there. Even if he gets there in time, a massive demon army is waiting, so they're begging him to stop, because if he dies, there's no one left to take down the Demon King. But he refuses to ditch Yakagi because they're ride or die. They call Mizuki to save the MC, but she's totally not down for it. These poor guys are literally shaking from pure terror. Ragi realizes she hasn't been this fired up in forever. He says sorry, and tells them he's got it covered. He tells her to go find a safe spot to chill while he handles the rest. The kid leaps right onto the horse's back. He heads out to find our hero, proving he's a total ride-or-die friend. Cut back to our main guy, who's been hunting Lefil for a whole hour now and still hasn't caught her. Out of nowhere, the rain starts pouring down. The kid stops under a tree and says this is exactly where wild beasts usually show up. He's thinking it's totally insane to be in a place like this. He looks back and boom, Lefil pops up out of nowhere. She totally thought there was only one beast lurking around. The MC is totally flipping out and demands to know what's going on. She switches gears to ask why he's even there, and when Yakagi admits he just followed her, Lefil warns him that sticking by her side is a massive risk. Yakagi asks if it'd be even worse if she was all on her own, but she doesn't care one bit. They sit there in a super awkward silence until our main guy finally speaks up to ask for some answers. She probably stocked up on all her gear and water, but she's staying dead quiet. He just shrugged it off, saying the guy probably didn't find anything good either. Suddenly, this kid pulls a massive mountain of food out of thin air. He's basically asking if that's even enough to stop him. He tells her the food he has isn't even enough for her, and she's totally stunned, asking what kind of crazy magic trick he's pulling. She eyes the bag and figures it can hold a massive 150 liters. Then Lefil asks if he's actually okay with this, but Yakagi just asks what she'd do. She says sorry, but Yakagi tells her he has zero regrets, because if he did, he never would have followed her. Besides, hanging out with her is way better than sticking with those boring merchants. The girl doesn't say a single word. Yakagi asks her which path she thinks is the better move, and Lefil says, traveling with the merchants is honestly the move, but Yakagi says he can totally read her vibe. He's gotta swear a massive promise to the goddess Elshuna or something like that. Actually, he basically needs to make a huge promise to the goddess Elshuna or something. She gets super flustered and admits he totally got the win this time. He kept saying it would be totally hype to have him around. I bet those demons only showed up because of her. Yakagi says they've got it all wrong and are probably hunting someone else. But for her, this is way more personal. He asks if she'll let him tell her story, which is basically the legend of how demons totally wrecked the ancient kingdom of Gnosis. She was right. The demons are probably hunting her down just because she's a survivor from that ancient kingdom. Yakagi hears this and asks if she's talking about that spot on the human-demon border that got hit first. He knows the whole story. And Lefil says it was a total disaster because Gnosis was leading the charge against demons and prepping for war every single day. Even after all that prep, the whole thing got wrecked in less than a month. Yakagi says he heard there are literally millions of soldiers on the way. Lefil says it was just like looking out at a massive sea. The entire place was just crawling with demons from wall to wall. His jaw hits the floor as he asks if that's really the first time she ran into that demon guy. She keeps the story going, saying a massive army crossed the border right before she ran into one of the 7 demon generals, who was flexing about wiping out 3 whole army divisions. Yakagi's losing her mind, because if just 3 of these guys caused this much chaos, all 7 would be a total nightmare. She knows she was dead meat against that demon, and her entire squad got wiped out before they could even blink. She's starting to freak out that being the first one attacked wasn't just a random accident. Yakagi sees what's going down and asks if she's actually talking about the spirits. She nods and says her people have always used this power to hunt demons, all because her ancestors were actually half spirit and half human. The goddess did this just to give humans a fighting chance against the demons, and as this sword style spread, it even helped out the heroes summoned in the past. Hearing that, he realizes this girl is actually in the same league as Ragi. She explains that this sword is a total family heirloom her dad handed down when he retired, and since she's been training with it since she was a little kid, her only goal is to use that power to save everyone. But right before she could live her dream, she got kicked out of her home and became an adventurer, ending up exactly like this. That's a total drag. But she quickly switches things up to ask about our main guy, wanting to know his whole deal and what he can actually do. He says he's just 100% locked in and obsessed with the grind. Lethal stops him and asks what he's talking about before they start over with 0 info. He says his dad barely ever spoke and wouldn't even lift a finger until someone forced him to start learning. Learning magic was awesome, but the insane challenges he had to deal with were a total nightmare. Way later, his dad finally dropped the truth about why. And if that whole disaster never even happened, he was totally gonna take that secret to the grave. And Lefil thinks it's absolutely wild that someone just like her actually exists. Yakagi finally asks what the deal is with all these demons. She tells them that way back in the day, a wicked god had a massive showdown with the goddess Alshuna. This evil god thought he was unstoppable, but the goddess and her elementals totally wrecked him and chased him right through a gap in dimensions. Basically, these demons are just lackeys for the evil gods, and they're obsessed with wrecking the world and causing total chaos. Yakagi asks if this god is the one giving these monsters their insane power. Lefil asks if he's got a plan, and he's just like, yeah, something like that. This evil god was dying for some chaos, but since he couldn't do it himself, he just handed his power over to the demons. Yakagi says their insane power comes straight from this god, just like how demons use black aura as a shield from an evil deity. This isn't some normal skill. It totally breaks the rules of this world because it comes from a being outside our universe. And the only person who's staying totally out of this mess is, obviously this god is just built different. Demons using that power proved he's actually real. And since Alshuna hates the evil god, anyone who follows her is now his sworn enemy. Lefil explains that humans and demons can't ever team up because the goddess's blessing won't allow it. Yakagi finally figures out why his magic is a total fail, since real mages are just borrowing power from the goddess and spirits. Trying to figure out magic that actually works on demons is a total nightmare, while the girls are just staring at him, dying to know who he really is. He stands up like a total drama king and tells everyone to take a breather because those monsters could jump out at any second. But are the girls even going to be down with that? Fast forward a few hours, and the gang is just chilling under the stars. He's realizing he can't see the stars at all, and without them, his ultimate magic is only going to hit with half the power. He knows he could totally wreck a whole demon squad with his big attacks, but since this aura is nerfing his fire, he's starting to wonder if he should even keep going. Suddenly, he looks down and spots it. Lefil is just out here taking a casual stroll. He's left wondering where the heck she's sneaking off to so late at night. He thinks the whole thing is super sketchy, so he starts following her from the shadows. They headed even deeper into the thick of the forest. Yakagi steps on something, and he realizes it's actually a piece of clothing. The guy is totally panicking with clothes scattered everywhere, and man, I think we all know exactly where this is going. This kid is honestly just acting like a total clown. He keeps moving forward and spots something totally insane. Our boy tries to play it cool, acting like everything is totally fine. And then he just turns around and walks away like it's absolutely nothing. But right then, he notices the girls are starting to look pretty rough. She's got this totally freaky mark right on her stomach. He takes a closer look and realizes this thing is 100% a curse. He feels totally powerless, wondering why these evil curses always target innocent people and leave scars on women. Next thing you know, he dives right into the water and heads straight for her. He pulls her into a tight hug and tells her he's sorry. He pulls off a weird magic trick and tells her to just hang tight because it's actually gonna help. A few hours later, they finally climb out of the water, and Yakagi asks if this whole thing is just a curse. With no choice left, she finally spills that she's a princess from Nocius with a spirit bloodline, having trained since she was a kid to master the sword and her massive spiritual energy to protect her home. They had to hold down the front fort, but the demon army's crazy power totally wiped them out. The demon army charged in so fast, they swallowed the whole land before anyone could even run. And since they couldn't call for backup, their own powers were totally useless against that insane strength. Her whole squad got crushed, and the castle was locked down for one last fight. But she wasn't allowed to die because they needed to save her spiritual power. She had to ghost her family and every single person she cared about. Right then, the witch leading the demon army hit her with a nasty curse. Yakagi asks if this is a repeat of the last time he found her, and she admits she totally blacked out and woke up wandering back to the hotel after pushing her spiritual powers way. She's tried to dump this curse 1,000,000 times, but not even the church priests can break it, and now she's a total wreck because she thinks she actually deserves this nightmare. She lost her whole kingdom, and her enemies cursed her, asking if anyone could possibly have worse luck than her. After seeing that, the whole group went dead silent. Suddenly, a crazy plan pops into his head. He reaches out and puts his hand right on the curse. He tells them he's going to try and find a way to work it all out. Turns out, this isn't just some random curse forcing everyone to act this way. When it comes to these curses, things get way more complicated, and there's definitely no easy fix. The kid draws a magic circle right on her stomach to cool down the curse, and Lefil is totally shocked by how much better she feels. She says she's never been able to handle this curse before. Yakagi warns her he can only weaken it for a second, so if they don't take out the caster now, they're toast. And even though he feels bad for not doing more, she's totally cool and just thanks him for having her back. Yakagi pulls her into a hug, and the two of them just stay there for a minute, totally vibing. A bit later, they're grabbing a snack when Lefil finally speaks up. This mess is spreading faster than a bad rumor, so maybe we should just soak it in water? Yakagi's not having it though, saying it won't help the taste, and even, she's like, "Why aren't you eating? Do you want me to go full survival mode and hunt for us?" Yakagi tells them to chill, because he's got it all under control and won't say a single word to anyone. He knows she's still down about what happened. But since those demons could jump out at any second, things are about to get seriously crazy. Out of nowhere, they hear a weird sound, and then this guy stumbles out of the woods looking like he just got absolutely wrecked. The Lethals rush over to help, totally clueless and asking what just happened, while he just looks at them like, out of nowhere, a pack of demon monsters jumped them while they were hiking through the forest toward the mountains. Yakagi has zero chill and dives right in with his healing magic, totally convinced this guy is from that caravan. And get this, it's the same guy who was just picking a fight with Lefil. We have no idea if she even knows the guy, but she's already begging them to save his life. Yakagi starts healing him right away, promising he's going to give it his absolute all. His wounds start closing up instantly, and while Lefil is totally blown away, Yakagi is just acting like it's no big deal. Nah, that's definitely not going to be enough. His body is patching itself up, but his soul is totally fried, and no amount of magic is going to fix that. If things were different, he might have had a chance to save him. Lefil is just stuck on his knees, totally powerless to do anything. With his final breath, he warns her that his crew is already planning a massive payback, so she asks if anyone else is still alive. But he's already totally done for. Everything goes dead silent for a moment. Then she stands up, looking totally fired up. My bad, but I've got to go save that merchant crew. Yakagi is doubting everything, but Lefil is sure they're hiding in the mountains and thinks he can save them if he moves right now. Yakagi warns everyone it's probably a trap, because there's no way they'd just let someone escape unless it was a total setup. Lefili's not backing down, though, because she's convinced this whole mess is all her fault. Yakagi is totally shocked, but she's convinced that if she hadn't hidden away, the demon Rajas never would have pushed things this far. He warns him that going solo is basically a suicide mission, and asks if he's actually trying to get himself killed. Lefil snaps back, asking if they really expect her to just stand there and watch, just like when she lost her entire home and family, and just keep wearing that fake smile forever. Right as she's about to leave, she tells him he was actually a massive help, even if it was only for a second. Yakagi's mind is blown. How is she still this amazing after everyone doubted her and just ditched her? This whole situation is insane. But she can't go dying now when she's still got that huge promise to her dad to keep. Suddenly, we get a flashback of her dad admitting he totally failed to save her mom. He chose to be a wizard more than anything, and now he's finally passing that power on. He's got to make the association's dream a reality, proving that everyone can be rescued. And with his final breath, he tells his son to save the people that no one else can. Thinking back on it all, Yakagi realizes his dad was totally right about saving the hopeless, and ever since his old man had his back that day, he's been a total lone wolf, doing everything on his own. The only thing he's got left is his dad's dream. He's a wizard, so once he sets his sights on a dream, he's got to chase it down with everything he's got. Suddenly, the kid picks up on a weird sound. Somehow that soldier is still standing, and Yakagi realizes that even though he took a hit, his soul is basically invincible. He's cooking up a plan to wreck that soul, and whatever he picks is going to be a total nightmare. A massive explosion goes off, and the guy just gets completely wiped out, leaving nothing but dust behind. A little while later, Yakagi is just casually wandering through the woods, and the whole place is basically a massive monster graveyard. The squad takes one look and knows for a fact that this was definitely Lefil's doing. Suddenly, a whole swarm of monsters just charges straight at him. Then the kid just straight up fries them with a massive bolt of lightning. And just like that, it was see ya never. He's totally obsessed with these demons because they look like they jumped straight out of a video game. He's honestly wondering why a modern-day wizard like him is stuck fighting these insane monsters. He's got no other choice but to bust out his defense magic right now. He summons another magic circle right out of thin air. Yakagi whips up a massive wall of wind and just blasts those monsters away. He takes one look at all the total madness. Yakagi sees more of them just keep popping up, like they totally missed the memo to stop. He just crushed an entire army. But he definitely didn't expect to run into these brainless monsters next. But for real, she's officially leaving her past in the dust. She's betting on finding a way to get them back home. But right now, her only goal is to save Lefil. Over on the other side of the mountain, the mine is ripping through some seriously sweet treasure. He's just wiping those demons away like they're nothing. She takes one look at the scene and thinks she's still got time to make it. But out of nowhere, she just completely runs out of steam. Suddenly it all clicks, and she finally recognizes our main guy. And to make things even worse, a demon starts creeping up right behind her. Lefil's barely even blocking as she forces her way forward. She's trying to lock back in because she's been absolutely killing it up until now. She's starting to think she should have relied on the MC more, but there's no turning back now, so she's just got to power through it. But when she looks ahead, everything is just totally gone. Her whole squad is totally gone now, and she's honestly just trying to process what the heck is even happening. Out of nowhere, the demons lock eyes on her and start sprinting straight for her. Finally, Lefil stops holding back and lets her insane light magic fly, just praying that someone actually made it out alive. She peeks over and sees some soldiers still holding their ground, and she's totally hyped that she made it just in time to back them up. But instead of saying thanks, the guy totally loses it, screaming that it's all her fault and she completely betrayed him. Everyone's shooting her death stares, while the merchant screams that she completely ruined his entire business. They ask if she's happy now and tell her to stop acting innocent, because they only got jumped since she was standing right there. Lefil tries to call him out and prove he's totally wrong because she found some beat-up guy and just blabbed the whole story. But there's zero time to talk because demons are literally swarming them from every side. She's yelling at them to get out of there, but some of the soldiers get absolutely flattened. Demons are literally everywhere they look, and they're totally stuck. But Lethal warns that if they quit now, it's game over for good. But that other knight is totally putting all the blame on her. And let's be real, it's super sus how she showed up that fast. Lefil's just thinking she used her speed boost without ditching anyone, and she only took off after making sure the MC was totally fine. But even after all that, everyone is still pointing the finger right at her. Out of nowhere, Demon Rajasth shows his face again. He shouts that she finally showed her face. He asks her straight up if she liked the little surprise he had for her. He touches one of the humans and tells her he knew she'd come if he waited long enough. But he's still shocked she actually showed her face. Even garbage has a purpose, and though the girl tries to stop the madness, she's already way too late. This poor guy is totally cooked. Rajasth asks her if it sucks that every guy who teams up with her is gonna end up totally wrecked, just like the others. After hearing all that, the adventurer is 100% sure his bad feeling was right. Because let's be real, she was the one who totally blew it. The demon just blabbed the whole secret. And even though she was warned to stay away, her entire squad is basically finished now. They're straight up calling her a killer, and they are definitely not holding back. Suddenly, the demon starts cracking up, calling humans a total joke for always blaming everyone else the second things go wrong. It's game over for real, and now every single demon is rushing straight for the humans. Let's be real, these guys are about to get absolutely wrecked. Lefil is just standing there, totally frozen, watching the whole disaster go down. She's still trying to find a way to save them, but those words just won't stop playing on repeat in her head. She's totally frozen in place and can't even move an inch. And more people are getting taken out left and right. She forces her body to move and manages to take out one of the demons. Lefil steps up to try and help a girl out, but the girl straight up says she wishes she was never even born. The mage slams into the ground. He's totally done for, and that demon is just laughing his head off like a total jerk. He was running on nothing but pure anger. Lefil rushes straight at the demon while he's busy talking trash. He mocks her, asking if that's seriously all she's got. He just flings her to the side like she's a total ragdoll. He says she's gonna learn the hard way how dumb it was to challenge him again, just like back in the kingdom of Nodius, where she had to run for her life. He still got zero clue what actually went down with the rest of the squad. They didn't even get a break after dying. And the guys who thought they were tough shut their mouths real quick when they were asked if they were actually having fun. Everyone treated her like a literal goddess. But the second they lost hope, they started hating her. And it's totally her fault they died so horribly, because she just ditched them. Lefil hears enough and charges straight back at the demon. She knows there's no way she's going down right here. Right there, the demon suddenly lets out a massive scream and he launches a pitch-black ball of energy. He's straight up daring her to even try and stop him. Boom! A massive blast goes off, and the girls are completely freaking out. The demons are freaking out because she's still on her feet. But man, that moment is over in a total flash. And she takes a massive hit straight to the gut. But this demon is just getting started, and he's just landing hit after hit without stopping. Before you know it, Lefil is Simath. She's totally wrecked, but still reaching for her sword. So Rajasth calls her pathetic and asks if she's really gonna keep going after everything she's been through. Running around like crazy didn't help at all. It just made the body count explode, and she couldn't save even one single person. She thinks back to how hard she tried to do the right thing, but everything still ended up being a total mess. The demon was right. She couldn't save a single soul, and now she's just wondering why she's even still alive. The demon tells her he's not even the one who's gonna finish her off, because she's gonna end up just like everyone else who died for her. A whole swarm of demons lunges at her, and it looks like Lefil is totally ready to give up. But then out of nowhere, a massive explosion rocks the whole place. Rajasth is totally confused and yells out to see who's there. Our main man showed up at the absolute perfect second, right when things were getting crazy. He says sorry for being late, but she's totally lost and asks what he's even doing there. The demon recognizes him as that same annoying mage from before and asks how a guy like him managed to survive all those armies. Yakagi admits he found the items, but they were total junk, and the demon is acting all cocky, thinking Yakagi either got cornered by bad luck or was just dumb enough to try and save that woman. Our guy acts all confident and asks him what he'd do if that was his very last choice. Lefil is totally stunned and wonders why he even showed up. The demon just laughs in his face, calling him a total idiot and asking if he's actually for real. Is it even worth saving a girl who couldn't protect anything and just ran away to save her own skin? Yakagi doesn't even blink when asked if it's worth it, instantly saying he's all in because this is his path and he's never backing down. That's exactly. The demon is shocked by those massive dreams, but he still can't stand the guy's cocky attitude. He's about to show him that acting like this is straight up crazy. Rajasth lunges straight at the MC, but our guy instantly summons a magic circle to blast him back. They slammed into each other so hard that sparks were flying all over the place. That demon gets sent flying way out into the distance. Yakagi sees that's his limit and calls Rajasth's power totally weak, but for Lefil, it's still absolutely insane. He slides in and asks if she can get up, because he's going to share his power so they can double-team that guy. Lefil is totally over it, and when Yakagi tries to use his healing magic, she just shuts him down and says it's a complete waste of time. She's convinced this is the end of the line, and they're all about to get wrecked. Rajasth is totally broken, and even if they all jump him at once, they still don't stand a chance. He tells her they have to try to find out, but she's just like, yeah, obviously. She knows he's a total beast since he wrecked the whole Nocius army. But even with him showing up, is it already game over for them? They're in a massive mess, and there's absolutely no way they're getting out of this. Our guy goes dead silent for a second, then asks if she's actually cool with that. And she's just waiting to see if what's about to go down is actually enough for her. But the poor girl's already tapped out, and she's got absolutely nothing left. Yakagi puts his hand on her head and tells her he gets it. So now he's just got to handle this demon. Things are about to get wild, and Lefil asks what his move is because she's sure he can't actually take this demon in a straight-up fight. Yakagi makes it feel like literally anything is possible. She's totally thrown in the towel, so now he's got to find a way to save her. She basically says that no matter where you go, you're always going to find miserable people, and there's just no way around it. Thinking you can save them is just a total fantasy that's never going to happen. Yakagi looks her right in the eye and says he's got to prove to himself that he actually has what it takes to save them. Lefil says hope always gets crushed into total despair, but Yakagi is dead set on looking past all this chaos to see what's waiting on the other side. He makes a silent promise, telling her to just watch how he's going to bring her hope back. The ground suddenly splits wide open, and that demon is back, so you know things are about to get crazy. Yakagi is totally hyped and brags about how far the demon flew, but the demon is super annoyed and tells him to shut up. He starts charging up another black sphere, and Lefil is positive she's toast. They think she's totally out of spirit power, and if they take another hit like that, it's game over. But our boy isn't throwing in the towel just yet. He pulls out one final desperate move. He summons a ton of massive magic circles right in the air. It's total chaos as magic spells literally take over the entire sky. This demon is totally losing his mind because he just can't believe what's happening. Our guy asks him straight up if he really thinks he can handle all this. He warned him that he better not take him lightly. The spell he cast is actually modeled after military bases from the parallel world, and that's when the demon finally realizes the guy in front of him is a total hero. The kid acts totally clueless and swears they've got the wrong guy, but he doesn't even care as he whips out his swords. He goes totally wild, hitting the demon with a crazy fast combo. Lefil just stands there watching, totally frozen in shock. He's in total shock because he can't believe someone can actually fight like that. She's looking back at all the wild stuff she's done up until now. He finally realizes it's way too late to regret giving up. Out of nowhere, Yakagi gets sent flying. He tells her to back up a bit, so she doesn't get caught in the middle of the action. This kid refuses to back down, standing his ground to keep the girl safe. They ask him straight up why he's even doing all this. He says he's been telling her the same thing like 1,000,000 times already. I mean, he only showed up to keep her safe. Lefil finally gets hyped enough to stand up, asking her goddess for the courage to keep fighting. She raises her sword and fires off her spirit magic again, yelling that she's done running and will fight for what she chooses. Rajasth asks what this insane power is, and she tells him it's the goddess's crew, and this spirit energy is going to wipe out every last demon. The monster absolutely loses it and lunges straight for the girl. But get this, she actually blocks the entire hit like it's nothing. She's telling everyone straight up that the old her is officially history. She thought she was just dodging his moves, but she actually ends up landing a clean hit on him. But the monster is totally losing it, yelling that this power is impossible and refusing to stay down. Out of nowhere, Lefil appears right behind him and smacks him again. Who knows where she got it, but she taps into some crazy power to take on this demon. She's lunging forward to deliver the final strike. Raja starts dipping out, yelling that they'll settle the score another day. There's no way she's letting him get away that easily. She tries to blast him with her spirit magic, but it's just not enough to take him down. She knows if she doesn't shut him down right now, he's just gonna do it all over again. If she had just a little more power, she could do way more than this. While all that chaos is going down, our boy is just vibing way back in the distance. He's already gearing up for another big hit. That demon up in the sky is having a total nightmare now that a massive storm just hit. He's never gonna forget how this human totally clowned him, and the second he's healed up, he's coming back for some serious payback. He's totally losing it seeing the entire army just got wiped off the map. I'm betting it was our boy who just pulled that off. Suddenly, lightning starts blasting everywhere, and the dude finally figures out what's going on. Yakagi suddenly pops up out of nowhere and tells him there's no way he's letting him get away. Suddenly, this massive girl pops up right behind him to back him up. They're all teaming up to power this massive magic circle. The demon's starting to think this guy has to be He's definitely the hero with that insane god-tier protection against all the elements. Even with this magic, it's basically impossible for a human to control, which makes you wonder what this kid actually is. That attack slams right into him, and just like that, Rajasth is finally done for. Lefil is just watching from the sidelines, thinking our boy is straight up legendary. Right then, the kid just collapses to the ground, totally wiped out, and unable to move a muscle. He felt like he totally lost his chill after burning every drop of magic to wipe out the entire demon army. Seriously, he got insanely lucky that he didn't just blow up right then and there. You'd totally expect holy magic to wreck demons, since it's their biggest weakness. And he's got a move called Break that lets him tap into straight-up saint power. To use this insane power, you need a ton of spiritual energy, and it takes a while to charge up. But he's still super hyped, because Rajasth couldn't handle that sacred magic at all. Even if he's wrong, the Demon King definitely gives off way more evil god energy than Rajasth, and since the other generals might be even stronger, he's gonna need a serious plan to handle all this. Right after that, Lefil pops up and gives the announcer a quick shout-out. He says he doesn't deserve it, because he was too scared to go after her, which is the total opposite of how she acted. She rushed in without even thinking, and after seeing her give it everything she had, he thinks she's totally amazing. She doesn't have to feel guilty anymore, and hearing that makes Lefil burst into tears, saying the kid is honestly such a good person. She was totally hyped the second he told her he only showed up to save her, so that's exactly why she knew she had to give him a massive thank you. Because of him, she finally found the guts to stand up and fight. They're ready to fight, and they're never gonna quit, no matter what. Yakagi remembers what he said, and realizes he only blurted it out because he thought he was a goner. He's saying sorry because he totally swiped that line from someone else. A while back, this super strong dude actually told him that. Lefil tries to say the world finally gave him a good friend, but the MC shuts her down instantly, saying that guy was actually a total bad influence. Out of nowhere, Lefil starts coughing like crazy. Yakagi just shoots her a sharp look. Then out of nowhere, the girl just shrinks down. Things are getting totally insane, and Lefil is just like, wait, what is even happening right now? Yakagi snaps back that he's the one who should be asking the questions here. He asks if she's ever been through this before, and she's like, duh, of course it's my first time. They think that annoying demon Rajasth is behind this, but Yakagi says it's definitely not a curse, and he's totally out of magic to investigate. Then he remembers that Lefil was totally out of juice just a second ago. Maybe she ran out of spirits and used up way too much of her power, making her shrink down just like a balloon losing air. But she swears that before this, no matter how hard she flexed her powers, nothing ever changed. Yakagi figures out she's half human and half spirit, basically like a crazy magical smoothie. She sucked up a massive amount of spiritual energy to take on the demon Rajasth, and that's totally why she shrank. She's running dangerously low on magic, and she's about to lose her true form any second now. The poor girl is totally losing it after hearing that, and somehow trips over thin air. She's totally pinned to the dirt and can't even move. He tries to jump in and help, but he's so drained that he just collapses on the spot. This guy literally just wanted to catch some Z's before he had to go and fix this whole mess. 10 days fly by after all that drama, and Yakagi finds a city entrance that's way more massive than Mattel's kingdom. They actually survived the mountain, hit up Krant City for supplies, and now they can finally just kick back. Suddenly, Lefil pops up and offers to carry his sword because it looks way too heavy. Yakagi shuts that down fast, because in her current state, she'd totally just drop it on her own foot. She starts apologizing for leaning on him again, and even says sorry for her outfit. Yakagi teases that if she's stressing over the small stuff she must be feeling better, then asks if she likes the dress, which makes her remember how the shop staff treated her like a total kid. He asks if it looks weird, but Yakagi tells him it actually looks super cool. He watches her and can tell she's low-key hyped, even if she's acting like she doesn't care. It's been 10 whole days, and she's still not back to her normal self. She says Yakagi's world is totally nuts, and is blown away that he was actually summoned from there. She sees his insane power and asks if he's actually there to save the day, or if he's just playing games. Yakagi tells her the monster was actually a total letdown, and not even worth bragging about, while Lefil is losing it, because she thinks no mage could ever handle that kind of power. This MC is way too high level, and the crew is totally cornered. But Yakagi admits that if his dad were around, he'd handle this no problem. His old man would have sent that monster flying with just one punch, and then fried it with a massive lightning move without even breaking a sweat. His dad is a total beast, so he could definitely pull that off. Yakagi has no clue why his dad trained like a beast, but it's way too late to ask him now. His dad is out of the picture, so Yakagi is following his trail and hopes to become a mage just as strong as his old man one day. A little while later, our MCs are wandering through the capital, wondering what the deal is with the Empire of Nephilia. He's noticing huge changes with massive crowds and way more awesome stuff than back in Estelle. She says this country is a total powerhouse with some serious strength. It got crazy strong from all those old wars, especially since the losing countries decided to team up. But the real reason everything's going down is that hero summoning ceremony. Yakagi asks why a hero would even bother getting involved in human wars. She explains that way back in the day, a tiny country became a total dictatorship and started attacking its neighbors, dragging tons of innocent people into the mess. Everyone was literally begging for a hero, and right on cue, he showed up and ended the whole fight with one insane sword strike. Yakogi's completely floored that the hero is being treated like a literal weapon, but Lefil admits they only summoned him to flex on other countries. The beef from 2 years ago is still going strong, and when Astel and Shardok finally went to war, Astel's kingdom absolutely wrecked them because the princess pulled off some. Yakagi is totally losing his mind hearing about this girl, but Lefil just shrugs and says she's been super busy lately. He's totally losing it because he never expected her to fight, but she's such a beast that it makes sense why she kept her skills a secret. Suddenly, the gate guard rolls up and forces them to fill out some annoying registration forms on an app. A few minutes later, the guy starts complaining that the handwriting is a total mess, but the girl just shrugs it off like it's no big deal. They have to pay up for all those entry fees and tolls, and then Lefil asks if she can just handle the paperwork on her own. The princess gets totally fed up and tells everyone to stop babying her because she's not a little kid anymore. She tells him to do something, but he's just standing there looking totally lost on how to help. The guards are totally cracking up, joking about how much energy these girls have and how it must be a total nightmare to look after them. He's totally used to seeing kids try to act all grown up since he's got a little sister of his own. After hearing that, Lefil realizes she's totally out of options. But then she totally switches up, saying she's still got some pride left. She's desperately reaching for the table, trying to get her signature on that paper. But she's way too short, and man, you just gotta feel for her. The guard hands her a chair, and Lefil is totally struggling to keep a straight face. But honestly, what other choice does she even have? Out of nowhere, Yakagi hears a huge commotion, and the soldiers are totally confused. And just like that, another Guado girl pops right out. Turns out she's actually a lieutenant, and she tells the guards to back off right now. Yakogi's just looking at her like, wait, is she actually in the army? Lefil is just staring in awe, saying this woman is straight up gorgeous. It's totally insane that she's actually a soldier looking like that. The lieutenant catches Lefil's comment and thinks she's way too young to be a soldier. The lady snaps right back, totally over being lectured by some little kid. And now the real drama starts, with her getting all worked up and insisting she's definitely not a little kid anymore. Then the lieutenants step up, ready to kick off duel time and Lefil's game. They stare each other down, totally locked in. The MC tries to jump in, but she's not backing down for anything. They finally step forward and start making their move. They check out each other's chests, and it's super obvious who won this fight. Yakogi's is just hanging back on the sidelines, wondering what kind of crazy move they're about to make. He already knew exactly who was the toughest guy in the room. Lefil is a total wreck, and she's completely losing it because she can't believe she actually lost. She thought her true form would have changed the whole game, and hearing that made the lieutenant totally freeze up. He tells her to quit dreaming and finally face the real world. A few minutes later, Lefil finally throws in the towel, and the lieutenant waves the MC over. She's never heard of him, and asks if he got kicked out of his clan, so they quickly lie and say he's just a traveler from the east watching a friend's daughter. The lieutenant's wondering if he's actually from Astel or somewhere way out east. Yakagi is getting some seriously sketchy vibes right now. He's totally confused why she's acting so intense all of a sudden. She's demanding to know why Yakagi is even there, but the guards are just like, "Whoa, take it easy." Suddenly, the wild girl just flings the guard aside and tells him to stay out of her way. And man, she is dead serious. Yakogase is totally shocked, and while Lefil wonders what's wrong, the angry lieutenant tells her to shut up, but the princess asks what they even gain from more fighting. She's starting to doubt the empire, and wonders if someone is messing with their heads. They were just following the city's entry rules, and needed to see proof that he'd actually done something wrong. Let's go with, they were just following the... He brings up how the Imperial Army is supposed to be honest, and asks her if she's not totally embarrassed by what she's doing. The lieutenants got totally shut down, and now they're just praying no one tries to backstab the Empire. Yakagi asks what if they actually do it, and she warns him she'll take them down herself, and she is definitely not playing around. She bounces, leaving Yakagi thinking she's legit terrifying. But then the lieutenant hears everything and starts marching right back to our main guy. She warns him that if he calls her that one more time, she's dragging him straight to the Imperial Court. The lieutenant finally takes off after a few minutes, and Yakagi feels like he just barely escaped a total disaster. He says he was already getting a total bad vibe before he even made it to the city. Lefil finally realizes she knows this girl. It's Liliana, the daughter of Rogue, a legendary member of the Seven Swords and the Empire's top magic boss. Yakagi is totally losing it, but he still can't shake that super creepy feeling. The Coast Guard tells them to stay low and avoid any drama. But since this is the final checkpoint, he wants them to wait right there until the path is totally clear. Everyone's hyped about a new hero summoned in the Kingdom of Astel named Ragi, and he's already got the legendary title, the Conqueror of Elements. He hears the news from a distance and is totally losing it, because Ragi actually scored such a legendary title. Peep is freaking out because this guy somehow led Astel's army against the demons and even crushed Rajasth, which is insane since he was literally just summoned. The girl glares right at the announcer, who's standing there looking totally clueless about what's happening. We jump back a few days to see Ragi looking absolutely shook. The kids were all hanging out right where the MC was standing. And get this, there's a straight-up demon party going down. Looking at the total mess, he wonders who could have actually pulled this off. Out of nowhere, the darkness just swarms around Ragi and traps him. And they're totally pressing him to find out who he actually is. But then someone else steps in and tells them to back off, reminding them they should already know who this guy is. The knights are totally losing it. And right then, the princess charges in on her horse. She announces he's the summoned hero and warns them she won't be nice just because they're totally clueless. Everyone's just acting like the enemies are the only bad guys here. Ragi is totally clueless and asks what they're doing there, but then the whole squad rolls up, and Mizuki is hyped that they found some horses to catch up with him. The princess asks if they're the soldiers from Krant, and instantly, every knight drops to one knee and says they're under Duke Adrius's command. Ragi hears that name and completely loses it, convinced this is the guy who leaked the secret about the MC being the hero. Just then, an old dude gallops in on a horse, and it's actually Duke Hadreus himself. Ragi's hitting him with a massive death stare, trying his best to stay chill. Mizuki catches the drama and calls out Ragi for making a super weird face. So Ragi tries to play it cool, even though he's totally clueless, but But he still can't grill that guy, because even as the hero, if anyone finds out Gregory talked to him, his whole career is toast. Hadreus mentions they haven't seen each other in months and asks if she's just there for the fresh air. But she shuts him down and tells him to stop stressing over her business. Just like you'd expect, Hadreus says she's still a total beast. Angregi takes one look and realizes this has to be the hero they summon. They rush to the scene, but all they found was a path of wrecked monsters left behind. They ask Reggie if he's the one who did it, but he says he just got there, so now they're dying to know who actually pulled this off. Mizuki starts scanning the area and spots tons of magic energy left behind. And check it out. There's still some leftover magic power buzzing from Yakagi's magic circle. She's totally clueless about that spell, because it's way too high level and might be a type of magic nobody's ever seen before. She's completely shocked that anyone could pull off a move this crazy, especially since some massive power just swept through and wiped out every single demon. Hadreus spots a massive army of over 10,000 demons in the distance, and since they only have 1,000 soldiers at each post, the kingdom and the city are basically toast when they met. Mizuki thinks the goddess might have just deleted all the demons, but the church says that makes no sense. Why would they even be summoned if the job was already done? She's basically just praying that the MC is actually chill and won't cause any drama. Then boom, demons pop out of nowhere. But wait, didn't Yakagi already take care of this? The old man finally locks in and gets ready to throw down. He's hyping up his squad like a total boss. Out of nowhere, demons snatch Mizuki, and just as Ragi rushes in to save her, the whole place just explodes into a massive wall of fire. They're trying to figure out exactly what kind of magic they're dealing with. And obviously it's Felminias. It's been way too long since they last crossed paths. Ragi asks what's up, but she knows they gotta handle the demons first. So the old man takes charge and orders the mages to unleash some seriously epic magic. Problem solved. Felminia's just glad she stopped by after all this time. But then Hadreus asks if she really got kicked out of her royal mage job. She shuts him down and says she's actually on a secret mission for the king, making Ragi wonder if they're finally there to save him. But he knows deep down this was always going to happen. She's totally cursed and can't say a word, so she just bails. Suddenly, a soldier rushes in with huge news. The Empire's third princess, Graciela, just crossed the border with her entire squad. She totally blasted through Krant and is heading our way, looking ready to throw down. Seriously, what is even going on with all this madness? Suddenly, this girl pulls up right there on a horse. Mizuki is totally lost and asks what they're supposed to do next. Titania drops a total bombshell that she's the third princess of Nephilia, with the strongest earth magic in the whole empire. And Graciela just casually greets her like they've known. The princess warns her that even friends can't just barge across the border, but Graciela says she'd apologize and asks if the princess wouldn't have done the exact same thing. Suddenly, a massive demon army spawns out of nowhere, and since her empire is totally abandoned, these guys are ready to wreck the whole place. The demons were always gonna attack, but they're showing up way too early, so the squad has to gear up for battle right now. You can't just leave a friend hanging, so he asks the princess for her blessing, and while she gives him the green light, Graciela warns him that the Sardius Union and the Assembly Council are totally. She notices he doesn't have a single scar, realizing that back in his world, he never actually learned how to fight. Titania jumps in and asks if she's taking it too far with the hero, but Graciela is just keeping it real and saying what's on her mind. Out of nowhere, Felminia picks up on a weird vibe. Duke Hadreus figures there's actually a survivor left. Even Ragi can feel it, so you know whoever's coming is a total beast. Through all that thick smoke, someone is actually getting back up. No way, that demon is seriously still in the fight. Ragi sees the monsters totally wrecked and asks who he is, and the guy reveals he's Rajasth, one of the big-shot generals. Hadreus hears this and asks if he's really supposed to be a top-tier demon, because he looks totally trashed. They're trying to figure out what happened, but the monster is totally losing it and tells them to shut up. He knows he can't let these guys walk away alive, so he's hunting for the perfect chance to finish them off. But Ragi stops him right there because he's got one big question to ask. Now the demon is dying to know who this guy actually is. He just straight up asks them why they're even attacking humans. This demon is dead set on wiping out every last human because he thinks they're just annoying, predictable pests that have to go. Ragi hears this and asks why they're killing each other over something so stupid when humans and demons are both just living things. Don't act like they can't be friends just because they're different. And seeing the mess, Rajasth asks if he's the hero of the hour. Ragi stays dead silent, and Rajasth knows exactly what's up, thinking it's just some dumb kid talk. If this helps him finish the mission, he might finally figure out how to take the hero's head right off. The talking is finally over, and now they're officially throwing hands. And Ragi is seriously starting to feel the pressure. This smug demon can't believe this is the hero everyone's hyped up, thinking his whole squad was being totally dramatic for ever being scared of him. Out of nowhere, Duke Adria drops in and saves the kid. He swings his sword and pulls off some sick moves that finally do some real damage to the demon Rajasth. Just then, Graziella jumps into the mix and starts charging up a spell. She chucks these wild crystals and is totally shocked when they actually start wrecking the demons. Backed into a corner, Raja summons a massive black orb. Right then, Titania snatches Ragi and tells him they've got to bounce for a bit. The demon is totally losing his mind because he's officially running on fumes. The MC's lightning sets everything up, and now the demon is getting absolutely hammered with even more attacks. The Duke isn't alone either, because a squad of mages is backing him up and making things way harder for the demon. Titania realizes her hits aren't doing a thing, because this monster is just way too tough. Duke Adrius just tells them to keep on grinding. Ragi tries to help by saying it's better to just take the hit head on, while the princess looks over to make sure Mizuki is doing okay, who actually thinks she's just standing there watching it all go down. She's always just sitting back and letting everyone else save her without lifting a single finger. She can't keep going like this while she's doubting if she can even pull it off. Suddenly, she remembers that freezing spell she picked up, thinking this might actually do the trick. She walks right up to the demon like it's nothing. She throws her hand up and starts unleashing that massive spell. The demon is totally out of moves and starts shaking like crazy as he asks her what she's even doing. Just as Rajasth is about to land a blow, he suddenly collapses out of nowhere. His body is finally starting to pay the price for that crazy fight with our main guy. Right then, Ragi spots a huge opening and lunges straight for the demon. He connects with a massive, clean hit. The demon is losing his mind because he can't believe he actually got wrecked by them. The monster slams into the ground and, with his last breath, he yells that he only lost because of that mage from before and would never get beaten by trash like this. Filminia sees her opening and asks Rajasth who he was actually fighting. The demon asks if she knows that person, even though he's not sure he wants to hear the answer. Ragi jumps in to save his master, but Filminia tells him to hold back because that monster is basically toast. The lightning keeps frying the demon's body more and more until he's finally finished. The monster slams straight into the ground. Ragi's just standing there, trying to wrap his brain around the fact that the fight is finally finished. Mizuki hits the ground, but immediately apologizes, saying she just wanted to help without making things worse, because she truly believed she could pull it off. Hadrius doesn't waste a single second, ordering all the mages to group up and get ready to start their patrols. He calls Filminia over and asks if she has any idea who the demon was talking about. She says yes without even thinking, and Graciella is dying to know who it is. Filminia has to keep her mouth shut because this is a massive state secret that they can't just leak to some foreign leader. Graciella keeps pushing, reminding them that this guy literally took down an entire demon army all by himself. Even an idiot knows this is a massive deal, but she's still keeping her mouth shut. Filminia keeps her mouth shut and doesn't say a word to anyone, since this order came straight from the king himself. Hadrius changes the subject and suggests they just tell everyone hero Ragi killed the demon. But the kid is like, "Wait, it wasn't even him." Hadrius says they can't tell anyone a stranger did it, or else everyone is going to totally freak out. Graciela jumps in and asks if he forgot they fought the demon too, so the old man promises to fix things, while totally ignoring that his army just barged into her land without an saw. He's asking if that's the real reason she backstabbed her own squad, just because the king told her to. Now they're locked in a total stare-down. She realizes she's got nowhere to run, and just gives up right then and there. The princess admits she wanted way more drama, but since it's all settled, Philmenia watches the old guy leave and knows he's totally shady. Fast forward a few days, and we're right back in the middle of Krant City. The boy walks right into the old man's room, his mind totally stuck on Lord Hadrius, a rich noble who owns a massive place in Krant. He's got so much power and a massive army that none of those fancy nobles can even touch him. The old man nods and asks how the big welcome party went, but even though Ragi was totally shocked, he's bummed out because he didn't actually beat that demon. Hadrius tells him he just got the heroes fired up and stopped everyone from stressing about demons, so he should be really proud of what he did. Ragi switches gears and asks why he was even called there, and the old man says he just wants to talk about some stuff. Ragi just shuts him down, telling him straight up that being friendly is a total waste of his time. Hadrius asks why he's even fighting, and Ragi instantly replies that he's just there to save the people, even though he doesn't know them, and gets nothing for it. Ragi asks why he's even bringing that up, but the old man just brushes it off, saying he's just curious about his noble way of thinking. When asked how his home compares, Ragi says his world is way more advanced, but it still has a little bit of magic mixed in. Hadrius explains that 100 years ago, life was just a boring cycle where everyone did the same thing until they died. Progress was basically a joke because leaders kept fighting and getting swapped out, but eventually, people realized they were just spinning their wheels and getting nowhere. He says the goddess probably treats this whole world like her own personal playground. Ragi hears this and mentions his world was also stuck in non-stop fighting, asking if peace isn't actually a good thing. Hadrius asks if permanent peace is basically the same as being dead. But let's be real, that's just not even possible. He's going to be fighting a ton of enemies from now on, even other humans. So Ragi asks if that whole talk with the demon Rajas was just a waste of time, but the old guy says it actually went down the total opposite way. He's super relieved this world is nothing like his old one, where thinking for yourself or trying to change things is just a waste of time, and even though he's up against mindless, the old man asks what Ragi's actually after, but Ragi says he wants 0 rewards, even when the guy starts listing off stuff like fame and power. And Ragi doesn't even blink, telling them straight up that he's not fighting for any of that. Duke Adrius is pretty bummed to hear that, so he tells the hero to just head over to the Empire. Princess Graciela is acting totally sus, so they offer the kid a place to stay to keep an eye on her. But he's not having it since his only goal is to crush the demon king Nicostra, and even though the Duke gets that, he's still begging for the boy's help. He actually put his whole journey on hold because Gregory snitched, and now Ragi's starting to catch on, asking if someone is actually threatening him. The old man says Gregory didn't technically break any rules, but he's still getting judged because a move like that totally kills everyone's trust. Our hero is absolutely fuming that Hadrius used his friend as bait, but Hadrius just says he sacrificed one person to save millions of others. They need to stop talking about his friend for now because the search is starting, and since he's probably gone for good, Rage asks him if he even feels guilty about his death. Hadrius asks if he'll finally be left alone if he just admits it. But man, that guy's luck was seriously the worst. Plus, he was totally creeped out that he even got mixed up with people he should have stayed far away from. Hearing that, Reggie totally snaps and lunges straight at Hadrius. but Hadrius shuts it down like a total beast. Ragi's jaw hits the floor when he sees this dude stopping the hero's insane divine power with only one hand. Hadrius is losing his mind and tells them to stay focused because they aren't even close to the Demon King's level, so they need to grind for XP and max out their body and spirit. With nowhere else to go, the kid finally gives in and decides to head straight for the Empire. Gregory and Fam are totally off limits, but our MC is on a serious mission to hunt this guy down like a pro detective. The old man is totally down with it, thinking the hero might just save their skins when things get crazy. A few minutes pass, and Ragi just dips. The old man just stands there, watching like it's a movie, saying the goddess is keeping her plans top secret, while Ragi turns every place he visits into a total corruption zone. Fast forward, and we're right in the heart of Nephilia's royal capital. He hears the tea and is totally shocked he left Ragi to handle all that mess alone. Lefil tells him to relax because it's just rumors, but Yakagi is beating himself up for not finishing that demon off, even though Lefil thinks leaving Raja half dead is good enough. She's thinking about what would have happened if Ragi's squad didn't fight that demon first, because even with those hero buffs, they still might not have made it out. Yakagi acts like it's no big deal, but there's a massive catch. He asks if she's really gonna stress out over some oracle's words. Obviously, all the girls are losing their minds since the church just dropped that massive prophecy bomb on her. Yakagi tells her that if she isn't feeling Elshuna's cryptic messages, she should just go ask the goddess straight up. Lethal's totally down, saying that since she's got the goddess's blessing, it'd be a huge mistake to just ignore it. Yakagi asks if she got her powers from the goddess, and she basically says maybe, so he tries to get her to team up with Ragi, but she's totally not into it. Even. Our guy stays totally chill though, saying he'll handle what he can, and since she's staying back, he's stepping up to take her spot. Lethal tries to stop him, but he just shrugs it off, since he doesn't care about the goddess. And honestly, most mages think they can take on the whole world alone. Lefil warns the goddess is gonna be super salty, but Yakagi isn't worried at all, because gods aren't allowed to mess with the world, and if they could, they would have done it way sooner. If some jerk god shows up acting like he's the boss, Yakagi is totally ready to throw hands. After all that yapping, Lefil actually stops to give him a quick thanks. The announcers are still totally stuck on what that nun just told them. For about a month now, people have been falling into random comas from some weird magic or a shady dude. And since the bad guy is still on the loose, he doesn't really care. A few minutes later, the gang is roaming around the capital, on the hunt for a library. He scans the area, but plot twist, he's actually completely lost. He's about to use his magic, but then he catches some people talking nearby. He hears that voice, and instantly realizes it's the same girl from the capital's gate. This guy tries to get her to do his dirty work, but she just shuts him down and tells him to get lost. He's totally out of moves, so the guy starts playing dirty. She just flexes on them, saying she's a pro sword fighter, and asking if their bosses forgot to warn them. The two guys are totally stunned by how tiny she is, and start clowning on her, since they can't believe a literal kid is standing there. Yakigi's watching from the sidelines, and he can tell she's totally the real deal. It's not his job to get involved, but he just can't leave the kid hanging. And then boom, a total shocker. Suddenly, this kid just dives straight into the middle of the fight. Everyone's totally confused, but Yakagi stays chill and asks why they're even picking on a little kid. At the same time, the sub-lieutenants are already getting suspicious about what our main guy is really up to. He figured the guy wasn't gonna jump in and just wanted him to get lost. She takes one look at him and asks if they've met before, and he's just like, "Yeah, we actually got into a fight not too long ago." She finally figures out who Yakagi is, but there's no time to talk because those other two are about to start swinging. Yakagi's eyes go wide as he wonders if they're actually about to throw down right in the middle of the city. The sub-lieutenant has no clue why everything is going crazy, so he just shrugs and tells him to get lost right now. Suddenly, that mage lunges straight for the girl, but she just weaves through that magic like it's a total joke. The other guy is totally stunned and says fighting that girl would be a massive headache, thinking she's some genius weapon built by Colonel Rogue. But the sub-lieutenant just tells them they're being way too cocky with an attack like that. They seriously set her off, and our MC is just hanging back watching the whole thing go down from a distance. He can totally feel the tension building, and it's a total 180 from the chill vibe in the guard room. Without missing a beat, another mage jumps in to strike back, but Yakagi instantly summons a glowing magic circle. He just snatches the magic right out of the guy. He's totally confused, but Yakagi just shrugs it off like borrowing it was no big deal. This other idiot tries to pull the exact same move, but Yakagi pops out of nowhere right in his face. He lands a massive hit right on his chest. That's one down, and the quiet announcer says he'll take the other guy, but he's already out cold. Even Yakagi is stunned, because she just finished that guy off and then immediately asked to bounce. A few minutes later, they're walking together, when Yakagi asks how that fight even started. But she tells him to mind his own business and asks why he's there. So he says he's just exploring, and asks if her name is Liliana. She's totally stunned because she doesn't remember ever telling him her name. Yakagi switches gears and says he's actually hunting for the Great Library, the biggest one in the entire empire. He asks where it is and promises her a snack if she talks. And after a little back and forth, she finally agrees to lead the way. As they walk, Yakagi sizes her up and realizes she's actually pretty chill. He asks why she's even there, not buying that she just got caught in the mess. So she explains she's on patrol since the city is a total disaster and they're way too short-staffed. She didn't want to drag anyone else into the mess, so she decided to handle it all on her own. This gets Yakagi thinking, did those weird coma incidents actually happen right here? But she hits him with another question, straight up asking if he's scared of her. Yakagi asks why he'd even be mad, so she reminds him she literally threatened him, but keeps acting super casual, wondering why he isn't holding a massive grudge like anyone else would. He says it's totally normal to be nervous around someone that scary, especially when they're younger than you, but even he knows he's acting completely insane right now. Either way, he can tell she's officially fuming now. The army actually loves that vibe since they're trained to just follow orders, but the sub-lieutenant says her whole style is about making the enemy terrified of her. But Yakagi totally calls her out, realizing she only acts scary to keep people away and protect herself. She's keeping her distance to scout the enemy, just like she did in the guard room. And when Liliana asks how he knows, Yakagi just says it's a gut feeling. He's wondering why she looks so ready to throw down, asking if she feels like she's totally surrounded by enemies. She just stares at the kids playing and goes totally silent. She reminds him she's a soldier, and he's just a civilian. So Yakagi apologizes for trying to act like they were buddies. That's when Liliana asks him for his name. Then our main guy finally steps up and drops his name. The girl is totally shocked and tells him his name is super weird, and right at that moment, but right then, someone calls out her name. He asks what she's doing there, and she's totally shocked when she sees who it is. Buckle up because things are about to get crazy, and these old guys are already demanding an answer right now. Liliana tells him to chill since she's just playing detective, but he's suspicious because she definitely said she was on patrol earlier. The guy tells him to just follow orders and stop doing extra stuff unless it's for a military mission. She just nods without asking a single thing, but the old man is dying to know what's really going on between her and that guy. But go out alone. Wait, sketchy is good. Wander solo to go out alone. Final version. The old guy gets, just go straight, take a left, and boom, you're at the library. The guy is super hyped to find it, so the old man immediately tells the girl to beat it. Yakagi sneaks a peek while she's totally lost in her head. Oh man, I totally forgot to grab that sweet snack I promised to get. A few minutes later, the guys are cruising through the city when they finally spot that epic library. "Yo, this place is straight up massive. It's basically a giant castle." He dives headfirst into that massive pile of books and totally forgets that time even exists. Night finally hits, and our guy is totally beat, realizing this took way longer than expected, and Lefil is gonna absolutely lose it if he doesn't get home fast. Then the whole city suddenly goes dark. He looks up, and the moon has just straight up disappeared like magic. They think it's some crazy spell, but nobody in this place knows how to pull off magic like that. He figures someone built a machine to suck up all the light. But then a totally freaked out guy suddenly runs up begging for help. Yakagi asks what's going on, and the guy just panics because they're hunting him down. Suddenly, this creepy dark figure just pops out of nowhere. Yakogase starts wondering if this is the person who's been putting everyone into a coma. But just like that, the guy totally vanishes. He turns around and straight up asks why the guy is following him. The guy pulls himself together and says he's not going to waste his breath on a total nobody. Man, he really just used our main guy and then left him in the dust. He's wondering why that shadow is even hunting the old man, thinking it only bolted because someone spotted it. Our hero lets out a massive scream, and just like that, Philmenia bursts onto the scene. She pulls the host into a massive hug. He says it's been a total eternity since they last saw each other. Later, they're just strolling through the area when someone asks what they're even doing there. She says she hit up the Empire just to find him, but she ended up totally lost in some super weird spot. Philmenia asks if she messed up by coming to help, but Yakagi just tells her it's totally fine. He asks about her job, and she reveals she's actually done with her royal mage duties. Yakagi is totally shocked, because he thought the whole thing was just a prank but fell. Yakagi's super suspicious, but since the king knows he's a mage, he figures Philmenia is just trying to get her hands on his crazy magic skills. But honestly, she's way too sweet to ever do something that messed up. Hours later, the MC finally shows up with Philmenia by his side, asking all about the little girl. Yakagi introduces Philmenia, the former royal mage who summoned him, and even traveled all the way to Mattel just to help him out. They say hello, but Philmenia is totally caught off guard when the MC's buddy starts talking about all the creepy stuff going down. Philmenia introduces himself and gives a huge thanks for letting him crash at their spot. Lefil is totally lost, and when Yakagi mentions some empty rooms, the girls' hearts sink because they thought they were finally being set free. But then the MC just calls Philmenia. Lefil is just standing there like, "Yo, what are you even doing?" When they ask if she really lets him talk to her like that, Yakagi just shrugs and says, "Yeah, why?" The poor girl gets even more embarrassed and blurts out that she wants to be called Lefil from now on. Philmenia pops out of nowhere and asks Yakogas if he's ever heard of a demon named Rajasth. This guy is totally second-guessing himself right now. A few minutes later, he spills everything and asks if Rajasth is dead, so the girl tells him Reiji got the final blow. But then lightning starts zapping out of him, and he just vanishes into. Yakagi's guessing this is just some leftover magic from his spell. He's stunned the demon actually lasted a whole week, but that's just how those guys are built, and it's definitely going to be a massive headache later. A massive wave of demons swarmed the place, thinking he was the hero, and Philmenia just straight up apologized for the people of Estelle. Yakagi apologizes for dragging Lefil into this whole mess, but she tells him not to sweat it, since she and Rajasth were bound to throw hands anyway. Yakagi is finally going to make sure Duke Adreus gets exactly what he deserves, and oh man, it's about to get wild. Philmenia just slams a book down on the table. Yakagi figures it's about that hero summoning ceremony, and asks her where she even found it. She says she spotted it just sitting in the castle library while she was sorting through papers, so she totally snatched it. When they ask if it'll help, Yakagi says he can totally use it for reference, and gives the book a quick look. And Lefil looks like she's just dying to speak up. They ask if Yakagi is hyped to finally go home, and he's like, obviously. They're both super bummed out by the news, but let's be real, it was totally obvious from the start. And that's literally the whole point of his entire journey. 2 days fly by, and the guild lady says the message finally reached the Astal branch. It's a shame about the merchant crew, but at least they made it back in one piece. Yakagi thanks Lefil and says he's super sorry for keeping her waiting. He's just waiting to see what happens next, and then, bam! Then another guy pops up asking for a second, and this fancy dude named Elliot claims he's a hero. But you can already tell he's way too full of himself. Yakagi is totally stunned by what the guy says, especially when he claims he's actually spreading a message from the goddess Alshuna. And get this, he traveled from forever away just to see Lefil and ask if he could finally call her by her name. Right after she introduces herself, this guy suddenly grabs her and says she's coming with him because the oracle said so. Of course, our boy jumps right in and asks if they can just talk it out first. Elliot asks who Yakagi is, and the guy claims he's her friend just to see if Elliot is actually a real hero. Lefil jumps in, saying he matches the oracle's description perfectly and is 100% the hero Matey's been looking for. Yakagi is still totally lost, but then a girl shows up out of nowhere claiming to be Krista, the magical priestess from the Church of Salvation. Matey swears that Elliot is 100% the hero, and she's totally ready to back him up. The flashy guy asks if Yakagi is finally sold, and Yakagi's like, "Yeah, I guess you really are the hero." Lefil isn't really feeling the plan, and asks what happens if she doesn't want to go. But Elliot just shuts her down, saying it's already decided. And she's going. Besides, don't even sweat it, because the goddess herself gave the order. But Yakagi figures he's just talking big. This guy claims he's never wrong, because he's part of some divine message, but he's clearly just full of himself. And the MC is starting to wonder if he's just making up how much the goddess actually trusts him. Christ is totally losing his cool, since the hero is standing right there, while Elliot asks if they're actually brave enough to go against the goddess Alshuna. Lefil's is still totally lost, and while Felminia wonders if their problems even matter, Krista drops a truth bomb. Because they didn't take things seriously, demons trashed the Nocius kingdom while Estelle was getting invaded. Felmini tells everyone to just chill out, because Lefil isn't actually breaking any rules by going solo. Meanwhile, the other heroes are just like, "Yo, what's your name anyway?" Felminia is totally stunned by her insane magic and asks her to join the squad, while Yakagi wonders if this hero guy is just acting like a total moron. Our MC is checking the vibes and decides there's no way he's rolling with them, even thinking about dumping his own squad just to get the win. Man, this guy is seriously full of himself. Yakagi is totally ready to swing on the kid, but he stops himself because he knows he's got no right to step in. Elliot's scrambling to make excuses, swearing that he's only doing this to save the world. But Yakogi's already made up his mind, and he's basically like, "Nah, it doesn't even matter." Christ is starting major drama, calling the guy out for straight up ignoring the goddess's orders. The whole crowd heard her, and they immediately started clowning on Yakagi. Yakagi was officially done with their nonsense and blasted them for acting like total idiots. He tells everyone to keep their eyes on him and watch what he's about to pull off. He says that no sane person would be this smug against a goddess-level threat, and asks if he's wrong for thinking that. He tells them straight up that if they want a piece of him, they'll have to kill him first, so they better start showing some respect. The kid is totally losing it, asking if he's seriously trying to take on the hero. And Yakogi's just like, "You bet I am." He switches things up and asks Lefil if she realizes how heavy the goddess's message is, and her silence tells him she definitely understands. Our hero knows he's right, but he's still not buying it for a second. He's making a vow to keep them safe from all this total madness. The heroes knew they had to crush him right in front of the whole crowd to get everyone to join their side. Yakagi just stands there, wondering how they could totally ignore something this huge. They're thanking ghosts, picking on the weak, and blindly following orders while totally ignoring everyone's real problems. And just like that, the files come to a dead stop. But Yakagi just shrugs it off, acting like everything is totally fine. He challenges Elliot to a total showdown and goes, "I'm going for it, and I don't care if some hero tries to get in my way." Elliot shuts him down and tells him he's not allowed to roll with the squad. He's flexing hard about being a sword and magic genius with a god's blessing, but Yakagi honestly couldn't care less. They're definitely not getting along, so you already know there's only one way this is going to end. The fight finally kicks off, and the hero's auras are totally popping off. The other guy is totally losing it, because his legs suddenly feel like they weigh a ton. Yakogi's actually impressed these kids are still standing, but he's definitely not going easy on them now. Meanwhile, the girls jump in and tell him they've totally got his back. He fires off a spell and is like, "Whoa, 2 against 1? Are you guys for real right now?" Krista blasts him with a huge lightning bolt, but the MC just bounces it right back like it's nothing. Elliot lunges straight at Yakagi, and Yakagi is totally stunned by how fast the hero is moving. But then someone jumps in, and the nun is totally losing it. Honestly, this whole fight is basically for nothing, right? She says her name is Clarissa from the Church of Salvation, and, get this, she's actually got a message straight from the goddess. Instead of fighting over Lefil, they decide that whoever catches the shadow wrecking the capital first wins the whole prize. Everyone's jaw hits the floor, while Lefil is just like, the heroes are eyeing that creepy shadow and those nuns, thinking they might be the ones putting everyone into comas. With the heroes totally wiped out, everyone's wondering what the MC is gonna do next, since he's the only one not stuck serving Goddess Alsuna. If it means no more drama later, he's totally down for the plan. Whoa, talk about a massive twist. He takes off, and even though the guys hated his attitude, the whole thing is finally over and done with. He looks back and goes, "Yo, is your name seriously Yakagi? Because there's no way I'm ever gonna forget that." Just a few minutes later, Yakagi is talking to this nun and tells her he's totally shocked she just popped up out of thin air. She brings up how they didn't really get a chance to talk earlier. The girl admits things got a little messy, and Yakagi's just like, "So, what's the deal with this divine message?" The nun leans in close and whispers that she was just telling a tiny lie. If she hadn't stepped in, one of the heroes would have looked like a total joke. Yakagi asks if it's okay to lie about holy stuff, since she's in the church. But the nun explains that serving Goddess Alshuna is complicated, and not everything they say is 100% true. It's so easy to root for the MC as he dives into the madness to protect what he loves, and she's totally hyped by how cool he is. He says the guy's got a massive heart, and tells him to never let those feelings go. Lefil feels bad for dragging Felminia into this, but she's not even sweating it. She just wants to get that win. While that's happening, the Yakogas are locked in and thinking hard about their next move. They ask him what's wrong, and he just wonders how they're even supposed to win this. Felminia wants to dig up some dirt, and when Yakagi asks if she's ready, she's totally confident, even though her target is the legendary hero everyone's counting on. Lefil hears this and wants to help hunt for info too, but Yakoge is just like, "Nope, I've actually got a brand new mission for you to handle. This one's for you, and get this, it's all about cats." "Hold up, cats, this is getting absolutely insane." The next day, Yakogi is just roaming through the capital. He's looking all over, trying to find the exact spot where he saw that hooded guy. He finally noticed that his tunic was actually way too small. He's out there dropping people left and right, making everyone lose their minds, and the cops won't even step in because he's just a kid. A crowd starts to gather, and some guy shouts that this girl is basically a walking weapon. Yakagi catches sight of Liliana, and the whole crowd is already screaming that she's a total monster. Seriously, give her a break. Yakagi isn't about to let this slide, so he walks right up to her and leaves her totally shook. He's demanding to know why this guy keeps showing up out of nowhere. Yakagi asks if it's the same dudes from before, and she confirms those guys clearly didn't learn their lesson. Everyone's whispering behind his back, because he's totally clueless that she's actually a living weapon. Everyone's totally freaked out by her, but they have no clue she's just vibing. Yakagi realizes the whole crowd is ganging up on her and thinks about playing nice since she's in the military. But instead, she just tells everyone to get lost. Since there's absolutely nothing left to see, she just turns around and starts heading out. Our hero tries to hold her back while the crowd talks trash, but she's not having any of it. He just brushed it off, since everyone always calls magic geniuses total freaks anyway. They totally should have dipped to avoid that glare. But Yakagi is just like, "Wait, your neck is wide open and you're actually getting closer?" He fires up his magic and patches her right up. Liliana sees how he's acting and asks why he's being so nice, since it would be way easier if he just acted like everyone else. The kids were totally confused and started asking why he should even do it. The girl just stares the MC down, not saying a word. He takes one look and tells everyone they need to get out of there. Our guy just tells them that next time they're definitely grabbing some sweets together. She basically tells him to do whatever he wants, and hey, that's definitely not a no in my book. A little while later, that mysterious squad finally shows their faces. The other hooded guys decide to duck right into that alleyway, and right there, they spot a cat. They look around and suddenly spot another cat. Just a little further down, there's this old guy who looks completely out of it. Suddenly, this hooded guy starts chanting and unleashes some crazy magic. Then boom, he face plants right into the ground and is totally out for the count. Suddenly, another guy drops into the alley and jokes that even with a cat squad, they're still super late. Our main guy is acting all cool, telling the hooded dude it's been way too long since they last met. The guy is totally stunned because he recognizes him immediately. They take their chance and bolt, and right as Felmini starts to chase after them, Yakagi decides to handle the old man first. Then he turns to another hooded figure and asks if they're the big boss behind all this chaos. Out of nowhere, he lunges at the hooded guy, and they start trading blows. Yakagi's actually getting pretty curious about how that spell works. Then she reveals it's actually some insane dark magic that's way too OP. Then Yakagi pulls out his own spell and lets a blast of wind magic fly. She thinks she's looking at a sword, but then she does a total double take when she realizes something is way off. She's realized that Yakagi is always busting out crazy new magic tricks she's never seen before. But just like that, she straight up cancels the MC's magic. Just as she's about to fire off another dark spell, Yakagi summons a magic circle that shuts her down instantly, leaving her totally lost, while he casually flexes that she doesn't know the cue. Man, they really messed with the wrong kid, and now he's spamming magic circles everywhere as things get totally insane. The hooded guy is totally shook when he sees the double spell, but it doesn't even matter, because he's still getting wrecked. He lunges straight at the MC, totally convinced he's doing this for the right reasons. He's swinging with everything he's got, just trying to land one solid punch. Yakagi slips the attack and immediately fires back with a massive magic circle glows as the hooded figure barely dodges the sword. But things are about to get way worse when he gets slammed by a massive blast of fire. Even though he's face down and totally wrecked, he's still trying to pull off one last spell. Felmini takes one look and realizes this place is a total death trap. Right at the last second, our guy tries to throw up a shield spell, but his magic just isn't powerful enough to pull it off, and he just takes that massive hit head on. This dark energy starts swirling all over his arm, and he asks her if she's really got that much control over it. This hooded guy clearly knows our MC, and is super confused about why he's getting into a fight. Felmini doesn't waste a second and bolts over to Yakagi, realizing he just took the full force of that dark magic blast. The kid checks the damage and admits he got way too cocky, rolling up his sleeve because he never thought his defense would actually get smashed. He's got to move fast or his arm is going to rot off, since his body is so wrecked that magic can't heal him, and his left hand is totally useless for now. Suddenly, a bunch of guards burst onto the scene, saving that old man's life. A few minutes later, Felmania is spilling all the drama, while the MC just stands there in silence, thinking they somehow fixed this whole mess. Suddenly, this guy shows up. saying he heard someone was actually brave enough to challenge the hero. But seriously, he never would have guessed it was actually Yakagi. Our guy suddenly recognizes that same dude from before who said, "This is Rogue, the Imperial Army's comms colonel we've seen before, and he's demanding to know the real story of what went down." Liliana is watching the whole thing go down from way up high. Then someone speaks up and asks where she's been this whole time. To prove she knows what's up, Liliana says she's got a handle on the situation. But when the old man asks for her take on the military police, she tells him she's digging into every single lead, but honestly, she's just running in circles. Looking at the mess, he thinks this might actually work in his favor, since those two are probably the ones behind all the drama. Liliana realizes the colonel is getting bullied by the nobles, and since he's just a commoner, he's already got a massive target on his back. Now that he's attacked one of them, things are about to get seriously messy. And get this, the colonel didn't even know her, but he still decided to take her in. Then he shouts at the girl, demanding to know what she even sees in the MC. He's digging for some serious dirt on this dude. He actually ran into the culprit, and she says they met while she was investigating. So Liliana asks if Yakagi is the bad guy. But the old man says no, even though the girl just gives a quick nod, basically saying she's got this whole thing covered. A bit later, our guy is just hanging out on a bench, totally losing himself in thought about that insane magic he just picked up. A few days later, he hits the library, but there's absolutely nothing in the books or reports, leaving him totally confused about how this magic actually works. They're trying to crack the code, but then the scene flips to Yakagi, telling everyone to chill because the books are totally readable. Felminia explains that the hero summoning ritual automatically triggers a spell that picks a language based on how smart the summoner is. She shifts the topic and mentions that there's basically zero info on anyone who uses dark magic. And honestly, she has zero clue what those words even mean, and they've got nothing to do with her. Yakagi realizes that even with everything he knows from his old world, this is a total mystery that must be coming from some insane, next-level power. The kid starts laughing like crazy because this is seriously awesome. When things get crazy, you just have to dive into the mystery and study harder. And since this guy is a total mad scientist, he's dead set on finally cracking the secret of... Suddenly, this guy pops out of nowhere and says he totally knew they'd meet again. He spots the librarian, and she tells him to just call her Lomione. He asks if Yakagi is hitting the library today, but she says she's hit a total wall and asks how his work is going instead. The elf takes a break and busts out his lunchbox to share, leaving Yakagi wondering if every forest elf is actually this chill. He shuts that down, saying there are actually tons of different kinds, and then asks if Yakagi is totally stuck. Yakagi finds something totally confusing, and when the elf offers a hand, he shuts her down, because there aren't even any records of what he's after. The elf scans the papers, and realizes Yakagi is totally on a mission for dark magic. Yakagi's jaw drops, and he asks how he knew, but the guy just casually says he's a librarian. He warns him that this isn't for normal people, and asks what his deal is. So Yakagi shows off his pitch-black arm and says it's all about this. The elf is totally stunned and asks to take a look, since he used to be a witch doctor. And when he checks out the MC's arm, he's blown away by how perfectly balanced it is. Wait, did you actually heal him yourself? Even with all that crazy magic, his insides are totally fine. How is that even possible? Yakagi says it's all because of those punks messing with the capital, and the elf is totally shocked they're actually hunting those losers down. The kid says a ton of crazy stuff went down and he's hunting the culprit, while the elf mentions a rumor about a mysterious challenger and bets it's Yakagi. He straight up warns him not to go down this path. This path is way too intense for outsiders, and since the bad guys are packing dark magic, it's honestly a total death trap. Yakagi barely blocked that magic with his arm, and if it hit any higher, he'd be finished. But he's going all in, because his friend's whole future is at stake. The elves are all about protecting every life, but Yakagi is already cooking up some massive plans. The elf switches gears and brings up what that hooded guy said about Bon Mei. This thing is straight up ancient and was born with some seriously dark powers. Those words are long gone now, but they used to supercharge dark magic's power. Using these words makes dark magic way more powerful than any normal spell. These casters are insanely powerful, and even having 9 lives isn't going to save you. But the kid is straight up wild, and he's not ready to quit yet. The elf realizes it's totally useless to even try and stop him now. Seriously, don't ever forget that dark magic is straight up bad news. The elf just bails, leaving our main guy standing there all alone. He was completely shook by all the wild stuff he just heard. Suddenly, a massive gang of cats jumps out of nowhere and totally freaks the kid out. Right then, someone wanders over and is totally caught off guard. And right on cue, Liliana finally makes her big entrance. Yakagi spots her and asks if she's there for the snacks he promised. But plot twist. She's actually just super shy and only wants the cat. Yakagi hands over the tiny furball, and her whole vibe just flips instantly. Just seeing her flash that huge smile. He actually ends up sharing one of his ice creams. I mean, honestly, why not? He flips the script and asks how long she's been creeping around. But she says she just got there to pick up her cat. Yakagi stops him right there and asks if that cat is even his, since he basically just found them all hanging out on the street. Liliana totally gets the wrong idea, thinks he's a cat thief, and starts joking about military court. Like, girl, you need to chill. A few minutes later, they finally fix the cat drama and just chill on a bench with some ice cream. Liliana brings up that crazy rumor about him challenging the hero to see who can catch the bad guy first. Yakagi is completely freaked out that she found out, and she's left wondering what his deal actually was. He says he just wanted to back up his squad, but she tells him to step aside and let the hero handle the dirty work. Yakagi just asks him straight up if he wouldn't do the exact same thing to keep his family safe. Liliana shuts that down real quick, making it clear he's just her boss and definitely not her dad. So her real parents actually ditched her, and man, that is just straight up heartbreaking. Yakagi says sorry, but she's totally chill, switches the subject, and calls him a total weirdo. She's totally confused why he's so relaxed around her, since literally everyone else is terrified of her, except for him and the colonel. Yakagi tells her that's way too cold, but she just fires right back with, "This is my job, so what else can I do?" He asks if she's actually happy, and she just says if she quits, she'll lose her spot forever. Yakuigi is totally thrown off, thinking she's just some harmless little kid. He's got zero clue what her whole deal is. Suddenly this cat pops up. She tries to give it some pets, and boom, it totally shreds her clothes. Wait, she's actually got those same creepy black spots on her too. She totally loses it and just bolts out of there. Yakagi just stands there, watching the whole thing go down. Then, that mysterious hooded guy suddenly shows up right in the middle of the capital. This girl is totally lost, and even though her shadow is literally her will, she's still feeling super lonely and confused. She's freaking out that he thinks she's a total monster. Besides the colonel, this is the first time anyone has actually treated her like a normal person. He's just walking right past this house. She pulls off her eye patch and starts checking herself out. She knew anyone who saw her like this would totally lose it, especially since even her own parents freaked out. Suddenly, a black cat shows up, but something about it feels super weird. Out of nowhere, a massive army of cats shows up and she's just like, "Wait, what is even going on?" She's totally confused and thinks they're being controlled, but then she feels a familiar vibe and knows exactly who's behind it. I mean, obviously he's the main character. He shouts that they're finally face to face again. He feels super guilty for wasting her advice and asks if she's actually Liliana. She's dying to know how he figured it out, but he just shrugs and says it was a total hunch. She demands to know why he's targeting innocent people, but Liliana just tells her to back off and mind her own business. Then a huge explosion goes off, and the announcer is just losing his mind. Looks like I'm gonna have to force those answers out of him. Liliana doesn't waste a single second, and instantly unleashes her dark magic. Yakagi asks to borrow that power, but it's not something you can just swap, and Liliana basically tells him he's not the boss of her. She's screaming in her head for him to just back off and stop trying to play the hero. If he ruins her plans, she'll have to take him out. But as Yakagi just stares, she realizes he's not an enemy or a noble. So why even bother? She shuts down her magic, but Yakagi is already making his move. Yo, hold up, you seriously do not want to do that. This creepy dark magic is swirling all over the MC, but he's just standing there like it's absolutely nothing. Just as she's chanting, this massive bubble of darkness swallows our hero whole. Oops! Liliana thinks she's the GOAT, and it's game over. But her target is literally turning into a total shadow. And seriously, even our main guy is getting totally overwhelmed by this. Suddenly, she just bursts into tears, wishing they could just hang out and joke around for once. But then the darkness literally cracks open, and Yakagi bursts right out. Whoa, he literally just smashed his way out of there like a total beast. The heroes show up to check the scene. And yeah, it looks like their whole plan is totally busted. Liliana is completely losing her mind and screams, "Wait, what did you just do?" He's basically like, "No full moon today, so my defense is straight up OP. Turns out the moon goddess is using her magic, but hold on. Since when was there a goddess for that? Liliana's totally lost. And Yakagi says this stuff is super rare for mages, so it's probably some insane power from a whole different dimension. If that wasn't the case, there's no way he could even use this power. He switches things up and asks Liliana if she even understands the true secret behind her magic. She's done with the small talk and starts blasting Yakagi with dark energy again. But look at him now. He's straight up dodging everything like a total ninja. He tries to talk some sense into her, swearing that darkness magic isn't even a real thing. It's literally just a curse born from all the hate in this world. Seriously, this is the one thing you definitely don't want to mess with. You can only use this power if you're fueled by pure hate. Liliana snaps back, asking if they really think she's just some girl who lives for hate. Then the MC puts him on the spot, asking if it's actually for real. Her hands are totally trashed and rotting from all that pure hatred, which is definitely why she's rocking that eye patch. He warns her that her power is way too dangerous for any human to touch, but Liliana is desperate to use it, even though Yakagi says it'll totally destroy her. There's still time for her to seal it and heal up. Otherwise, she's gonna turn into something she'll seriously regret. Liliana totally snaps, yelling that she knows the magic will drag her into the dark, but he needs to back off because it's none of his business. Yakagi shuts him down, saying that path is a total no-go for a mage. And honestly, he's just being way too nosy. Liliana says that without her magic, she's basically useless in a fight, and the Colonel won't need her anymore. She doesn't even care about being a human weapon, because the Colonel finally gave her a place to call home. Yakagi tells her to stop and really think about what she actually wants. She doesn't care one bit, saying that if fighting is her only option, she's gonna stick with it until the end. He's totally losing it as the darkness takes full control. Oh man, the stakes just hit a whole new level. The announcer is basically like, "Yo, do not go down that road." Liliana warns him to get back, because the darkness is starting to close in. But Yakagi just keeps on using his light magic. He just wipes the magic away like it's nothing. He pulls her into a hug, and she's totally shocked, asking him what he was thinking since he almost died. He's apologizing for everything, and our boy says it's fine, but they still have to wipe out the rest of that darkness. He's scoping out the area to see what's going down. Yakagi picks up on this super dark energy, and right then, things get totally wild. It's like this massive, creepy glob of pure dark energy. These creepy spirits are literally popping up everywhere you look. We're closing in. Our heroes start backing up quick because they're about to get totally surrounded. Let's use The whole crew starts backing away fast because I honestly have no clue what that thing even is. But bet Yakagi's crew is definitely about to start a massive fight, right? That's the end of the story. So hit that like button if you enjoyed the ride. If you enjoyed this, smash that like button. I'll catch you guys in the next one.